Hello, and welcome to Things You Didn't Ask For and Didn't Need to Know. Today we're going to talk about money. Before we start, just going to remind everyone, don't forget to like, subscribe, join on whatever platform you are, whatever way you can. And more importantly of all, for all of us, leave a comment or, your thoughts. Please share them with us. We're always curious to hear, and we don't get a heck of a lot of feedback. I am Mart.
I'm Donald.
And I'm Barry.
So, I guess we can start with, before we go into the big topic of the day, there's an announcement we were going to make. We've been talking this over for a while, and we have decided to wrap up this podcast. This is the last episode ever. So, thanks to everyone who's listened, and goodbye. Barry, what date is it today that we're recording this?
Oh, we're recording this on the 1st of April,
Ha
2025.
April Fools. I don't know if it counts as an April Fools if you do it, even though it's kind of like recorded that day, even though because it won't be uploaded till later. Sorry, I don't know what you made of that. I just went with it on the fly.
You caught me on the fly anyway, that's for sure.
No, but we by the way, that was an April Fool's joke, even though it's not April Fool's when you're hearing this, if you're listening. No, we are not wrapping up the podcast yet. We are very slow putting out episodes, but they'll be coming in a trickle every now and again when we feel like it.
Well, when we can.
Yeah.
Real life is a real pain in the ass.
But yeah, for now, we will just do the usual, Barry, and turn to you and entertain us with some facts or statistics or whatever you wish to share.
Okay, so I've got a couple of little stories. One is this one. I'm not sure when this happened, but a helicopter pilot flew his helicopter up to 40,820 feet, which was a world record for altitude for a helicopter. Helicopters aren't meant to operate at that level. At that height, and his didn't either. So the engines failed, and it started.
What did he think he was doing?
I think he was trying to set a world record for the highest altitude for a helicopter.
Was his name Felix? What's his face? That guy who jumped from space?
Baumgartner.
Jesus.
Maybe he's the guy that brought him up to that platform.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, it started plummeting down. He managed to land it safely, and thus broke a second world record for the longest safe landing descent of unpowered descent by a helicopter.
Well, that's amazing, because I remember years and years ago, I was actually babysitting my nieces and nephews, and there was a really cool kind of a science kind of a show on where it would be like, they would just say, imagine if this happens, which is more likely. So for example, one of the things on it was, you're in a helicopter, bang, all the engines go. Or you're in a plane, bang, all the engines go. Which one are you more likely to survive?
Logically, you would think that when the power goes in a helicopter, it just falls.
It's just going to drop like a rock.
It falls.
So I was thinking, whatever chance you have in a plane,
you can glide it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I was shocked, and I could still remember, because it's so long ago, but it surprised me so much. No, apparently a helicopter, I don't know why or how the aerodynamics, it explained it, of course, but I didn't get it. But it's just, it somehow doesn't fall like a rock like you'd expect it to.
So
whatever
someone
way
in the comments explain how the hell that
Please,
works.
explain aerodynamics to us, like we're five.
In that particular one.
Yeah.
Now, here's one. In anyone, Star Trek fans or Trekkies out there, in Star Trek Voyager, it took them 70 years to get home in that. So the idea that shows that they were flown far away.
It would have taken them 70 years.
Yeah.
If they had 70 years flown at warp speed.
Yeah, it's a 70-year journey to get home. But what I was reading today was that with our current technology that we have now, that same trip would take us 300 million years.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean,
so just a nice little.
That would have been. It's going to take us 70 years to fly home at warp 9.
Yeah.
Whereas
at max warp, yeah. But 120 years if we stop off at every single puddle of a planet we find and get into an adventure every week.
Yeah.
And yet that's somehow still get home quicker.
That's like somebody from, I don't know, like 1,000 years ago saying, whoa, imagine, how we walk across this continent and it takes us like 9 months. Imagine in the science fiction world where you can fly across it in a few hours.
Yeah. Here's a question. Do ye know the song by Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fortunate Son?
Yes.
I don't know any song by anyone.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Please.
So, Donald, you know the song. How many Vietnam War movies has that song featured in?
Oh, it's either none or 17.
I know I'm going to regret this, but someone has to sing me a bit of this, because I don't.
Oh, well, you don't want me singing it.
You don't want me singing it either.
I really don't, actually. But
It's got the word Fortunate Son in it.
I would play it on YouTube, but then this video would get taken down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It ain't me. It ain't me. I'm
wait,
not your fortunate son.
Yeah, now I know it.
Okay, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So how many Vietnam
Well, wait a
War
second.
movies do you think that one's been in?
Was it in Forrest Gump?
It would definitely have been a Forrest Gump.
Well, was it though?
I don't know.
Was it though? That's the question.
You see, I'm
It's one of
thinking
those that
it's
most
either
people think,
loads
oh yeah,
or
that's been in every.
it's either been
Vietnam
in
movie.
tons of them or it hasn't been in any.
I'll push you for an answer.
I would have said 17.
That's because he said 17 a second
Did he?
ago. He
Oh.
did.
That's weird because I
put that in
genuinely
your
head.
I didn't hear it consciously, but
Wow.
Darren Brown here.
I would say 6 if any, because there probably isn't that many war movies really.
I'm going to say none. Okay. I'm just going to go to the extreme.
It's one. It is Forrest Gump. You're
Oh,
absolutely right.
God damn it.
So well, there we go.
Yeah.
And today we're talking about money. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna. What's the word? Segue, is it?
Yeah.
I'm going to segue into that now. The largest numerical bill to ever circulate in the world was a. Sorry, 1, 2.
I'm thinking of the episode of The
5,
Simpsons.
6, 7. 21. 1 and 21 zeros after it.
Oh, this is some weird country where there's probably like, you know, you go shop and buy a loaf of bread and it costs 100 million rubles or something.
It was the Millard Hungarian Pingo, issued in 1946, and at the time it was worth 20 US cents.
Oh my.
Oh, what?
I mean, there comes a point in your currency where you just say, you know what, drop a bunch of zeros. And
all the zeros.
Everything will still work the same.
Actually, put the decimal point a couple of.
Yeah, literally, yeah. I mean,
If they put the decimal point one past it, so it was 10 cents, it would
and
be
they will
closer.
save
back.
money, because if they're writing that many zeros on each bill, it must be huge.
The ink cost alone. Just to fit all those zeros, the bill would have to be this big. Like. So that was that. And this one then is another question. Actually, no, we'll do the question last.
Yeah, I enjoy questions.
In Ireland, we're moving out of money and into debit and credit cards. So we're moving out of cash money. For the quarter up to June 2024, 85.5 of point-of-sales payments were contactless. And in 2023, there were 4.1 billion payments made, 11 million payments per day, the majority of which were made through payment cards and mobile and online banking.
Is this just Ireland, Barry?
This is just Ireland. While check usage in 2024 fell to less than half the volume of 2019.
Check. As in like the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Here's a
20
bit of a tree. Take a day off work to go to the bank.
What?
And queue for 2 hours.
Yeah, fair. But you know, it's not that much different from handing someone money and then that person now take another half day of bring that money to the bank and put it in there.
Well, yeah. Well,
If you want to lodge it. So.
yeah.
Yeah, but Barry, you weren't behind the till in... What's the last time... Did you ever have to take a check in any of the places you were?
Oh yeah. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So
Even
when
back, I used to have to do it at the time where someone, if it was over a certain amount, you had to ring a bank and have it cleared
Oh, my God.
with their check guarantee card.
Yeah. Because I was in Harvey Norman and someone came with a check.
We didn't. Did we still accept them? Did we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah. So it was
I'm
like,
guessing you have to go upstairs to get
call the
someone for that.
manager.
Yeah. And my last one is, what is the oldest currency that is still in use in the world?
Is it an actual
You don't
money?
mean like somewhere where you can go and hand over a bag of shells?
Yeah, I was going to say, is it salt or something?
No,
it's
no, this is currency, yeah.
Okay, currency. Mm,
I
I put Oisin got this right.
Okay, the British pound? I don't know.
Donald?
actually, the British pound's a good one.
It is the correct one.
Huh.
Yeah. It has been in circulation since 1775 AD.
God save the Queen.
What?
God
17?
save
Oh,
the king.
1775.
17,
Oh, yeah.
No, 775.
775.
775.
775.
Yeah, 775.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's like,
Wilson.
huh?
Owen Wilson.
But it's like,
Wow.
that's like 1,000, almost 300 years.
Yes, close to that, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Now, you'll notice that there wasn't an awful lot about money there. A little bit about money, not a huge amount. I did no research on this because I figured I want to be completely honest in this episode. I am the world's worst with money. I vague idea of how it works. I have no idea about stuff like financial markets or investments or pensions or any of that. Any you remember the ad that was on years ago? I don't know how a tracker mortgage works.
You just made me, yeah.
I have no clue. So I figured I could do a load of reading and come across as semi-intelligent and know a little bit about money. But I figured, do you know what? No, I'm I don't know anything about money, so I'm not going to pretend I know anything about money. So
Put your hands
Well,
up.
I gotta say, I was looking forward to this because just again to remind everyone who's listening, when we do an episode, we really make a point of not discussing it in advance or not planning it, just talk about it. So I was wondering, what are you going to bring? I don't like, even when I told Rachel this topic, she was like, what, like, in a way that, what are you going to talk about? Because it can encompass everything.
And nothing.
Or nothing. Like,
Yeah.
what do it's so vague. and
Barry's covered it with the
intangible.
oldest currency.
But I will say, before we go, so I'm really looking forward to just, I don't know, throwing it out there and seeing where it goes. But before we do, I do have a few other random little bits that I do want to talk
Nice,
about.
yeah.
things that nobody asked for and nobody needs to know.
Yes, exactly. And this is especially something that in Ireland, literally no one asked for this. And it's not that they don't need to know, they don't want to know.
Okay, go on.
But it happened.
Fascinating.
We all saw it. It's a very big deal. The Irish Irish Taoiseach's visit to the White House, and it's a very big deal. And there's always, every year, there's a debate: should he go because of this reason? And there's always, it's a disgrace that there's whatever the president, not just Trump, but any president, and there's this thing happening. He shouldn't go and protest. And every year, the Irish people kind of debate it. But of course, the Taoiseach has got to go. It's a stupid thing to not go. It's such a big opportunity and everything. This year, he didn't get to be in the White House for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Because another Irish representative did.
Yeah, well, not a representative, but go on.
Well, he says he is.
Specifically
Obviously.
not
no,
a
I know we all
representative.
know what I'm talking about. Conor McGregor. I don't know. I just wanted to...
Sorry,
I don't have anything to say except...
I much prefer the name that people have been giving him online.
Which is?
Andrew Tato.
Oh my God. That is perfect. That's brilliant.
The first time I read it, I cracked up. And I thought,
Tato.
that suits him so
Oh my
perfect.
God.
Geez, some
So
people
perfect.
on the internet, where did they get this stuff?
I know, they're brilliant. They're
Yeah.
absolutely... And the internet really does have the best and the worst
Yeah.
of humanity. Like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Connor...
Actually,
Andrew Tato.
let me just run through a quick thing in that case. Mart, Conor McGregor, do you think he should run for
No.
election?
Sorry.
No, Mart.
I know. But
Well, I would say yes, why not? I mean, you live in a democracy, and either you say, I do not believe in the basic premise of democracy. Some people shouldn't be allowed to run. Or you accept that you do believe in democracy, in which case, first, anyone should be able to run. And secondly, if they get the votes and the support, then they should get the reins of power. Like, that's what happened in America. It's terrible to think, oh, Trump this, Trump that, we don't agree with this. But you know what? That's democracy. If you don't like it, go to
he was
Russia.
voted in, yeah.
Now, you could say,
that Russia orchestrated it.
well, yeah, democracy.
Go to Russia so you
the
can
i-
vote for America.
No, the idea of democracy formed back in Athens or wherever. Back in the day when it was, it was simpler and easier with like less people writing on a bit of, what do you call that, like pottery.
So you're saying is when we give women the vote, that's when all the problems started.
Thank you, Barry. I'm glad someone had the guts to stand up and say
pointing
it.
out, like you point
No,
out, yeah.
Basically, and this
Please
is
don't
funny.
soundbite that.
I still believe this fully, right? Democracy has always been a bit shaky, and you can go back to the whole Plato thing and all that kind of stuff. But basically, bottom line, it's not a great system, but it kind of works, and it's probably one of the least worst
What
ones.
did Plato say? Was it it's the worst of
yeah,
the
it-
best of the worst or
yeah,
something?
Aristotle said it, I think. It's
Oh, was
the-
it
One
Aristotle?
of them
Yes,
does,
one was the philosopher of the group.
Yeah.
It's the basically, there's actually a great, it's a YouTube video that I saw that summarizes his thinking. I'm going off on a tangent now, but basically it's Aristotle's take on democracy, where it's, imagine if, this is something he came up with, if there was like a sweet shop owner or some equivalent back in the time, and the person who runs the sweet shop says, give me the power and I will give everyone sweets. But and these are like people who are going to go on a voyage on a boat, and someone else is like, no, give me the power. I am I've sailing experience, etc. Which one should get the power versus which one is probably going to get the power based on, using the premise of democracy to make promises to get the power voted in and all that kind of stuff. So basically it's democracy is the rule of the ignorant majority. And I have my own thinking on that, but we can go onto that another day.
We were talking about politics.
Yes, but where was I going with that again?
Conor McGregor.
Oh yeah. Gee, thanks. I totally talked myself out of it. But basically, the truth is, if we believe in democracy, this is what I was saying. But what I really think happened, democracy more or less worked, and you can give 1,000 examples why it didn't really work, and there was loads of bad things. But I think what full on broke it is very directly social media. And I still think back to when, and I know social media was around before Facebook with Bebo and all that, but really, some nerd in college said, I'm going to do an app that's going to rate the hot girls in my college. Somehow he became one of the richest people in the world, one of the biggest power players in the world, and his app has grown to cause atrocities and, genocides, and somehow literally broke democracy.
Yeah,
Democracy doesn't
and yet
work
they're
now.
going.
Yeah, I don't know. Did I tell
It's
you
not-
this
it's
last
not-
week?
it's not
I
my
meant to, or last time we were doing the thing. Like I signed up to Twitter back when I didn't even know what it was, and then I kind of learned what it was.
And back
realised-
when it belonged to Jack Dorsey.
yeah, but I mean, it was literally when I heard of it first, and then I just deleted the account afterwards. I just didn't use it. I never went back, but Elon Musk's AI Grok is free, and the new one that came out like probably a month ago now, version 3, is meant to be really good. It's right up there with OpenAI, ChatGPT, and all those. ChatGPT 4, the reasoning model, and everything. And but the only way you can really sign up to get the free full access to this model was open a Twitter account. So I did. And as you open the account, it's like, what are your interests? Gaming, movies, sci-fi, books. And then I go into my main Twitter page, and it's all it's all basically fascists giving out about how the evil Democrats lefts are, so bad, and the Trump is so great. And it's like, how is every single thing on this front page all that? When I didn't sign up to any of it. I didn't say anything about politics. No, I had no intention of ever using it. I've only been on like 2 or 3 times. Because I do go and I talk to Grok every now and again, but it's like, holy crap. It's so biased. I can really see how.
I think that's because all the people who don't share their views are on Blue Sky now.
Well, yeah, but this is the thing. I would expect, I don't know, something non-political when I have no interest in politics. Well, I actually do, but that I didn't tell them that I did.
But apparently Blue Sky is really good at that. That part, that's something that they do really, really well. When you say this is your interest, that's what you get. And you can control that as well down to the nitty-gritty of it. Apparently it's very good for that.
No.
So I don't know. I've never been on Blue Sky. I've never been on Twitter. So
Anyway, I've just realised I've gone way. I've gone like 10 tangents away. I was just saying, I can see how someone would get radicalised if they're on X and they think that they're, on a social media platform, but really they're just being funneled all the crap in their brain that's really only one perspective.
An awful lot of the stuff that they're reading is AI generated.
Well, yeah, but ultimately, anyway, to answer the question, I do think democracy is broken in the last few decades directly because of social media. But if we still hold on to some semblance of belief that democracy is the least worst of all the options, then yes, I do think Conor McGregor should be, allowed to run for president. Now, as long as he gets I think he needs a certain amount of
4 county councils,
Yes.
20 members of the Oireachtas.
yeah, all that
something
stuff
like
has to happen. But if it did, knock yourself out. And if he gets voted in, I would be very sad at the state of Ireland. But that's democracy in action. What else do you want?
And the worst thing is if he gets voted in 7 years.
Yeah, but it's 7 years of what though? Like, if you're in America, you can literally push a big red button and nuke the world. In Ireland,
we
they
had
go
one
to
of
rugby
the
matches.
greatest statesmen this country has ever produced in Michael D. Higgins for the last 14 years, and he's a statesman. He's a politician to the core. He's a great talker. He's eloquent. He's verbose. He's sagacious. He's everything that you want in a statesman. So when people were meeting him, he impressed them, even though he's a very small man, but yet he was he's a really, really good talker and stuff. So to go from that to Conor McGregor would be,
it would be like going from Barack Obama to Trump.
yeah, it would, and it would be such an insult.
I mean,
to democracy.
But then, would it be, Barry, or would it actually be just democracy in action, exactly as it was designed?
Yeah,
You may
but
not like
you
it,
said, it's democracy.
Broken democracy.
Broken democracy, broken by social media, because that's the only way he would do it. And we need to be very vigilant of what the likes of Elon Musk and them would do to get someone they see as an ally into what they perceive to be a power position, because they can't see beyond their own noses. So the President of Ireland, that'll be another head of state that we have in
That's
our
a
pocket.
very good point, Barry.
They have no idea that he has no power.
In a way, I was
they're not gonna
thinking,
research it, like.
if he did manage to somehow get these votes, like basically he's not going to get voted in.
No,
Then
I
realised,
don't think he's going to
actually,
get. I
wait.
don't think he's going to get on the ballot. But
Now that you say it,
Finger
right?
crossed.
Let's say Elon Musk decided, and he has been tampering, trying to get the Nazi party back in Germany.
yeah, and England and France.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, as you say, like to Elon Musk, throw 100 million quid over there. So what? It's literally nothing
it's
to him.
pocket change.
And although, oh, I had a thought and it's gone again. So I'm still recovering. I was sick last week. That's why we didn't do the podcast. So I'm actually definitely a little bit more just difficult to string my thoughts together. The second time, I'm just like, oh, and then I lost it.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
But yeah. So I guess
Yeah, let's hope not.
that happened.
Yeah.
Something else random that I thought of in the last week. I am back from holidays. And as you know, because Ireland, the country that brought the world Ryanair, introduced the new idea of, dang, you will pay for every kilogram you bring on board that plane.
Okay.
I mean, have you ever tried going on a plane and your bag is like half a kilo too much, and they're like, yeah, that's no problem, give me 90 quid extra. So then people are emptying the bags and throwing stuff out. But, and by the way, I kind of agree with it in principle, because it is a fair idea to say, why would you pay the same as someone who's bringing 10 huge bags on?
Yeah.
It makes sense, right? So
And of course,
all fair enough.
every kilo of weight makes it more expensive to fly the plane.
Yes,
So
expensive, but also environmental impact. And there is the whole shenanigans of, I don't know about what other countries do, but I know in Ireland there's huge, what do you call it, tax allowances being given to airlines, so that they're basically, when you fill up your car with petrol, half of that is tax, literally half. When an airline fills up its gigantic airplane tank full of petrol or diesel or whatever it does, don't worry about it, there's hardly any tax on it. There's a little bit, hardly any. The reason, keep tourism going, or some other nonsensical reason like that. Already that's shenanigans. I mean, they're a commercial industry, let them pay their own way, and if they can't, then tough close, like any other business. But then also, one of the biggest causes of,
climate change.
Climate change that's one of the bigger contributors. Anyway, all that aside, we're there before flying out and flying back. You're lifting your bag. You got this little weighing thingy. I'm sure everyone has one now. You'll be, oh no, it's 0.2 over. They will not let that slide in the airport. We have to throw out something else. You're making so much of an effort. Then you land in the duty free and it's like, now to buy the most gigantic bottle of vodka or whiskey or whatever that you can, because it's so friggin' cheap there. And then you're bringing that on the plane. And all you're doing is bringing it on the plane, flying over there. Oh, sorry now. You bring it on your plane, you're literally flying it to another country, and then when you're coming back, you're just putting it on your luggage and putting it under the plane anyway. Yeah. And on the way back, well, there's duty free again. You'd be a fool not to use that opportunity and get something for half price, or you're bringing back more. So you're literally flying it across continents or countries or whatever. For what? Just because it's a little bit cheaper. And I don't know, either it matters or it doesn't. It just seems so ridiculous to me as I was doing it.
Well, you have to remember that from Ryanair's perspective, it's just it's profit.
I mean, yeah.
They're just making money.
But anyway, that was just a thought.
Yeah.
And
look, that was tangentially related to money. So
yes, but I have a final thought, which is very definitely related to money.
On that, do you know that duty free was invented in Shannon?
In Shannon?
Yeah.
Really?
It was invented to encourage people coming to Shannon.
Yeah, it feels like a kind of a tax loophole that no one bothered closing, and that's all it is.
Yeah. It's even on cruise ships. You can, if your cruise ship is docked at a port, if you buy something, you pay whatever that country tax is on that product. So, for example, a bottle of whiskey, say, is normally, this is arbitrary because I haven't bought a bottle of whiskey and I don't know how long. Say it's €20. In this country, that's what you'd normally pay in an off license. Yeah. So you go up to the bar when the ship is in dock and say, can I have a bottle of whiskey? They'll be like, yeah, €20. They set sail that evening and sail out from that port, and they get into international waters, and you go up to the counter and say, bottle of whiskey, and they'll be like, €10.
No way.
Or, sometimes even cheaper, depends on where they are. They can literally charge, the price of stuff goes up and down, depending on where they are. So the guys that sell them, the bar staff would say, like, if you go up to buy cigarettes or something like that, they'd be like, wait until we sail.
Yeah.
Because it'd be a lot cheaper. So
I guess it's just that the country's laws apply when you go into port.
Yeah, once you go into port, you're under the jurisdiction of the jurisdiction you're in.
Last but not least, this is something that I heard on Irish radio recently, and it's to do with money, so I'm going to segue into the main topic after whatever you have to do. But this is something that I heard on, the Matt Cooper thing.
The last word.
So, and the reason I'm citing that is it's not just someone on X that I read saying this kind of thing. It apparently is true. In Ireland, if you shoplift, I'm going to look at my numbers. If you shoplift if you get falsely accused of shoplifting, you can then sue the shop for defamation.
Okay.
And you could get between 5 and 7 grand because of defamation of character.
Right.
So, tip for all of our listeners who want to make free money: go in a shop, look real shifty, keep putting your hands in and out of your pockets, and then stroll out the door looking really guilty. Boom, free money. And the thing is, because of this fact, shops are now at a point where if you see someone like literally lift up a, I don't know, bag of sweets and walk out the door, you're almost like, you know what, just let them go. I mean, if you stop them, if they'll go to court.
Rampant, apparently.
And what's worse, they'll go to court. Okay, you'll win the court case because you have the evidence. They really did steal it. All they need to do is say, no, I didn't. It goes to court. Lawyers on both sides, they get between 20 and 30 grand between them. So and by the way, even if you, the shoplifter, is found guilty, you don't necessarily and usually don't have to pay the other's damages. So, hey presto, you're a small shop, you see somebody stealing something worth €2. Are you going to throw 20 or 30 grand down the drain just to stop that person taking that or else you're going to say, look, just go.
Yeah. I think, I'm dragging this out of my head, so I don't know if it's true or not. I think what they do in a lot of places, like in American stuff, what they do is they obviously have cameras everywhere. So they record somebody stealing something and they look at what they're stealing and go, okay, that's not where we won't stop them. But then they use facial recognition software to track that person. So when they come back into the store the next time they steal something else, they go, oh, there's that person stealing again. What are they stealing? Okay, leave them off. And they keep doing that. Oh, and then eventually they're able to go to the guy and say, this person has stolen a felony worth of stuff.
Oh, nice.
Not a misdemeanor amount, a felony. Here's all our evidence. Then they go and arrest that person.
Yeah, but that's why you got to wear a baseball cap and one of them COVID masks.
Yeah, or just glasses
and
a false
shades.
mustache.
Here you go. And a false mustache just to complete the look.
Under the mask.
Yeah. No, but I definitely, it made me, and these things annoy me because it's like, honest, there's two things. Firstly, somebody says, hey, you're shoplifting, and you empty your pockets and show, see, I'm not. And they say, sorry, and you go about your day. What's the big deal? It's right up there for me with, oh, I was walking down the road and I fell in a hole. Then look where you're going. You don't get free money for being stupid or blind or falling in a hole.
Yes, you do.
Well, you shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Just look where you're going.
But you do.
But if you're like, and that's the thing, it's the idea behind it is that if someone is negligent, so the person that dug that hole should have put warnings and cones
Within
and all that
reason
kind of
as
stuff.
well.
Yeah, so
The
that's
sign
the
is
whole
there.
idea.
You didn't see the sign, you're an idiot.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Laws are made, and these court cases and stuff happen. Laws are made to stop criminals, but it doesn't because they're criminals.
I'm telling you,
So-
if Conor McGregor ran on a platform of, I will cut this crap out, you'd have my vote. Oh, that landed badly. I was joking. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was trying to formulate all the things wrong with that, but I knew you were joking, so I was like, why am I bothering? Yeah, but it's like when the government say, we're making tighter gun controls. It's like, well done. That's only going to punish legal gun owners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Criminals don't give a shit how stringent you make a law against anything. Doesn't matter. They're criminals. Their literal raison d'etre is to break the law. So they're going to break the law. Criminals are going to criminal. And it's the same. Like I don't think I've never sued anyone. Do you know what I mean? Thankfully, touch wood, I've never been in a car crash where I've been injured enough, or in a car crash. Well, I've been in a few, but I've never been injured or anything like that that I've had to claim on their insurance or anything like that. But there are literally people in probably in every country that literally have that as one of their main sources of income.
Yeah, but
is
what
getting
annoys-
in car crashes and saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, my neck."
What
my neck."
annoys me is, if one person has sued like 5 people in a row, I mean, is everyone else wrong or is that person wrong? Why don't anyone join these dots?
So that's the thing. They join the dots, but there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, because it's not illegal.
Yeah, it's not illegal, and they can't make it illegal. It's kind of like
Yes, they can, Barry.
They can, but
If we had
it's
Donald
kinda
Trump as president, he
It's
would.
kind of like there's the whole thing of why is if someone is convicted of attempted murder, they get a much lesser sentence than someone who successful murder, for example. Right, and some people say, well, why is it just because he failed at his attempted murder? Why does he get a lighter sentence? And of course, the reason is that if you're robbing someone and you're fighting or whatever, and you stab them, and you think, oh, I've just injured this person, finish
Well, right.
off because the punishment's going to be the same at the end of the day.
Well, I was going to say, this is going out into weird realms of ethics or something, but let's say you are driving a car and you go through a 50-kilometre-an-hour zone, but you say, feck it, those laws don't apply to me, I'm in a rush. So you belt through at 100 kilometres an hour. And it's a school zone, but it's fine. Splat. You hit a kid, you kill that kid, we don't like you, you're bad, and you get, I don't know, manslaughter or something put against you, right? What if on another day you did exactly, or let's say, the day after, I did exactly the same thing in exactly the same road with exactly the same amount of kids around, but they were just careful and I didn't hit anyone.
They were just...
And a cop stopped me, right?
The onus is on you, 4-year-old.
I would get a speeding ticket or whatever, right? Whereas you would get, I don't know, manslaughter or something worse.
Yeah.
Really, we both did exactly the same action, so you would think we should both get exactly the same punishment, which is to say, yes, you killed a kid, but really you just were speeding, so here's the speeding ticket. Or to say, Barry, you killed a kid, here's your manslaughter, prison sentence, etc. Mart, you didn't, but you could have. You did exactly the same action as one who did.
Yeah.
You also get a prison sentence and manslaughter and everything put against you. I'm not saying which one is right, and definitely a fine would not be enough for something like this, just to be clear. But whatever, it should be the same punishment for the same action. Why is it that you do the same action, but one person was lucky and rolled a 1, or a 6, and the other person was unlucky and rolled a 1, so now the outcome is different? It just doesn't feel right to me. Do you know what I mean?
And yet at the same time, it does. It is right that someone who kills a child gets more punished
Because
than
he
someone
was
who doesn't.
unlucky.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he killed a child, so he has to get more of a punishment than the person that didn't kill a child.
but see, you're saying that as if there's some kind of implicit, inherent obviousness to it, but there isn't at all. Yeah. It's the same action.
And yet, like I said, the person that kills a child should get a bigger punishment.
Why though?
He killed a child, and that's it.
By mistake. Well, what about if anyone kills a child under any or anyone for just by accident?
Well, it depends on the accident.
It depends on the accident. Yeah. Is it a preventable accident?
But some accidents are just simply accidents.
Yeah.
Some accidents are like if you're speeding through. See,
if you're speeding, that
not
isn't
an
classified
accident.
as an accident.
Yeah, that's not an accident.
That's negligence.
Well, it's an accident caused by
negligence.
Yeah, but then again, you see, I think the negligence is the crime, regardless of the outcome. Then you shouldn't speed past the school.
No, you shouldn't.
Bottom line,
You shouldn't,
exactly.
no.
And that,
But they also get the fine for speeding.
Yeah, but that's fine. Oh, here's give me some of your money.
Yeah, but it's
for
fine.
nearly
They get a
killing
fine. They get a fine for speeding, and they get vehicular manslaughter. So they do get both.
No, the person who rolled the 1 gets both. The person who rolled a 6 only gets a fine.
Yeah. So if you drive through a school zone super fast and you don't hit anyone, but you're caught, you get a fine. If you do the same thing and hit a child, you get the fine and because that's because you
so
do 2
you're
crimes.
agreeing with me.
Yeah, but you're guilty of 2 crimes, so you should be punished for 2 crimes.
Well, okay, but it feels weird to me that
I
a
know what
crime
you're
is a
saying.
result of just bad luck
Yeah.
or rolling of the dice kind of thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
we could go down here all day, and we're not here to talk about that.
We're talking about money.
Yeah.
Somehow. Sometimes.
Anyway, I'll stop talking. Donald, do you want to randomly throw anything out to us today, or are you just ready to talk about the green?
Talk about the green.
Okay.
You can start. You can start.
I actually don't have anything off. I'm looking at Mart.
I really want to start. Simply because, and I know that I just talk too much, but you all remember Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Yes.
One of my favourite moments or scenes or whatever in Game of Thrones is not when Littlefinger says, chaos is a ladder. But it's actually, do you remember when Varys was talking to Tyrion? And he told him a kind of a tale or a riddle. And he said,
Varys, just to go back a step
Varys
here,
is the bald guy.
No, we know that. Well,
Yeah,
we
sorry.
don't necessarily know that. But Varys was the Minister for Finance.
Was he?
Oh no, Varys was the spider,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
he was
was
the spider,
Yeah. No,
He
I
was
don't
the
think-
minister for. He was the secrets.
Minister
guy.
for-
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
He was
I don't
the
even
minister
think
for
he was
communication.
yeah.
something like that. Yeah. But anyway, ultimately, it was a question he asked. Right? There is a king, a priest, and a rich man, all in a room with a sellsword, which is a mercenary.
Mercenary,
guy.
yeah.
And each of the 3 of them told the mercenary, kill the other 2 for me. The king said, kill them 2 for I am your ruler. And the merchant said, kill them 2 and I will give you a lifetime of wealth and riches. And the priest said, kill them 2 and the kingdom of heaven will be yours. Who does the sellsword listen to?
If he's a true sellsword, the merchant.
Well, actually, that is very, very Dungeons and Dragons of you, and absolutely accurate. So, sellsword isn't the right word, but
If
let's
he's a mercenary,
say,
if he's a mercenary, then you've got to take it from that he's living in the now, because mercenaries tend to not have long lives. And living in the now, He's not going to care about a ruler. He's not going to care about the afterlife.
Oh, but you're inferring a lot about the character of this person who.
I have to. I don't have any other information. So that's my inference from it. Like. So, well, what would you think?
I think that March is funny defending the person's character.
This imaginary person.
This guy went
And
to
I'm not,
school.
and I
damn
wouldn't
it.
mind. I wouldn't mind, but I'm not being disparaging about the guy.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And I think it probably says more about me if I was in that room. Give me the money, die, bitches.
So sorry. So what's the question for me? Is like
Would the
Sellsword.
sellsword listen to the king, the merchant, or the priest?
you see, if it were me, I'd probably listen to the king.
Really? Oh.
If I was a sellsword.
Yeah.
But then again, that's why I wouldn't be a good sellsword because of what Barry said. You know?
No, you'd probably be in the king's guard.
Yeah.
The king didn't say that though. The king just said, "I am your ruler." He's
Well,
he's,
yeah,
he's relying
he's
on
just
your loyalty.
commanding, basically.
And so there's no guarantee that you'll even have any work after that. Like.
Well-
and you've dirtied your sword, possibly nicked the blade. You're going to have to fix that. So you're out. You're literally out of pocket by following.
Although, if you kill the other two and listen to the king, you can just take the money of the merchant anyway. It's just there.
Well,
He's dead now.
You didn't mention that.
No, actually,
you didn't
no.
say bring all his riches.
I'm
with him.
ruining my own story and ruining Game of Thrones.
He
Basically,
brought all his money.
he was sitting on the chest of gold while he was. No, well, the kind of the answer that Varys gave
Yeah.
was, it just depends on who the sellsword is, which is an obvious answer. But the reason being, why would he listen to the king versus the other two, or the merchant, or the priest, is he will listen to whoever he believes holds power. So if he's an atheist, he's obviously not going to listen to the priest. If he's a true mercenary, as you said, Barry, he's not going to listen to the king or the priest. He's going to listen to the money. But it depends on who he believes.
I suppose if he's a
truly
real,
have the power.
if he's a sellsword, but he's also very religious, he's thinking, "Geez, my soul doesn't
yeah,
save my soul.
yes.
All the horrible things I did for money."
And what
This could save my
Varys,
soul, yeah.
what Varys said
I
is,
suppose, yeah.
power lies where people believe it lies. Mm-hmm. And I think that lines up perfectly with the topic of today, because money is a completely made up lie that we all just choose to believe. And because we choose to believe it, it works.
And it holds us.
But if somehow we all woke up one day and realized, wait a minute, I'm working 8 hours in a place that I maybe don't want to work in, or doing whatever you don't want to do, and you're just getting numbers on a screen or pieces of paper, you might just say, no. And it wouldn't work if one person said it and everyone else went along, because then you're just an idiot. But if everyone thought that
And
simultaneously,
homeless.
well, yeah, for example. So anyway, I just find money to be the greatest story ever told, and I think it's amazing that it works because, but historically, as you said earlier with your question, what's the oldest money ever? So that
Well, no, the
Yeah.
British pound isn't the oldest money ever.
is the oldest currency.
It's the oldest currency still in
still
use.
existence, yeah.
That's still in
Yes.
use. That's important.
Yes.
Because obviously there were currencies way before that. The Assyrians and the Babylonians probably had currency. I think they did. And the Chinese probably had currency thousands of years before that.
No.
So,
But
yeah.
what I find fascinating about it is it's kind of no surprise that money works, right? Because there was a bartering system.
I was
and
going
then
to say, it's a lot easier to carry a few coins than it is
Yeah.
to carry a sheep. when all you want to do is just buy another person.
Yeah, but that makes sense, right? What if I invented my own money? I called it Mart Bucks, and I tried to convince you, hey Barry, I will buy your laptop off you for 500 Mart Bucks.
Some new crypto you're trying to push.
Well, no, it isn't. But this is where I'm basically going.
Well,
with
and
this,
here's
it's
what
obvious.
here's what I would say, Mark.
Yes.
It was like I would say, how guaranteed is this smart book?
I give you my word.
No. You give me your word, but does anyone else give the word? And that's where the
Yeah,
where the
they
money
will
lies.
if they choose to.
Yeah, but how many people choose
Did
to?
you ever watch Better Call Saul?
Yes, not all of it actually.
No, well, this is a very early season because I think
I
only
just
watched
saw
one
the
or two
last
seasons.
episode with John Riley.
Oh,
Was he in it? Fair play to him.
no, but do you remember the time that he was like struggling and trying to get jobs, and he was getting all these crappy little jobs, and then some rich Texan.
Wills, wasn't it? He was doing like old people's wills and
Yes,
stuff.
going to bingo and all that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
some rich Texan called him and said, I will pay you £1 million to help me secede my little ranch from the US government. And of course, it's ridiculous. It's never going to work. But Saul is like, I'll gladly represent you if you give me £1 million.
Cha-ching.
So he lands out there, and your man is like, he's got the suitcase full of cash. You can take that now if you're willing to take the job. but the cash was all his own made-up money for when he
Oh,
succeeds.
no.
Then this money will be recognized in the new state that we're going to create together. And Saul was like, too good to be true.
Yeah.
But basically, that, except someone in real life really did that, invented their own money, and this is the bit that I can't understand at all. Somehow convinced the world that it was real, and it grew and grew and gets traded on Wall Street now, and it's real money and you can buy a car with it. How the hell did that happen?
Bitcoin.
Yeah. That's the bit that I do not understand.
It's unreal,
to this
isn't
day.
it? I still,
and I know the blockchain, and I know the technology behind it and all that.
Don't understand it.
Well, I understand that bit, but I don't understand how a person made up their own money
Do
and
we know who that
convinced
is?
everyone it's real, and nobody knows who it is.
So, and do we know, are they like multi-billionaires?
Nope. Well, put it this way, we don't know because
Yeah.
nobody knows who it is.
But should they be?
But well, I mean, if they kept all their
they
Bitcoin.
probably have some Bitcoin in the beginning.
Famously, someone bought a pizza in the early days and paid for it. I think it was with 40 Bitcoin or something, or maybe it was with 1 Bitcoin, which is now worth 40 billion or something. But it was like, I mean,
And apparently he's been interviewed and he says, no, I don't regret it.
It was good pizza.
Really? You don't regret it? And he's like, at the time, that's what it was.
I mean, that is what it was. But
So, but that's what so much of money is. Okay,
it's an agreement. It's a gentleman's agreement or a gentleperson's agreement.
Yeah, and it's the confidence in the money.
It's like in the very, very old days when the Crusades and stuff, where the Templar Knights would say to the person going out to Jerusalem, they'd say, right, we know you're rich here in England.
Yeah.
So when you don't have to, and they initially used to bring loads of riches with them so that they could buy stuff when they were in Jerusalem, food for their soldiers and stuff. But the Templar Knights would say, look, we know you're rich here, so you give us the money here. We have a ton of money out there, so you just travel there, and once you're there, you give them this promissory note, and they'll give you whatever you need out there. And that was kind of the first checks and banking system.
And it's interesting as well. So
One
it's
of the
like
first.
Some people would have a great value in a shell, for example.
They used to be currency.
Shells used to be currency. But then you went to a place where people just didn't even see shells. If they lived in the desert or something, they were like, what the hell? There's literally nothing we can do with this shell. It has no value. But one of the things that had value almost everywhere was gold, which is why...
And salt.
Yeah, and salt, yeah. So it's like...
But again, for example, gold, our most precious metal.
Yeah.
Amongst our most precious metals. It's good for conductivity, so it's good for like circuit boards and stuff. But why
And
in
it
the
looks
hell?
pretty.
Yeah, that's what why, like it's a useless metal. You know, did you ever see the movie Lord of War with
Yes.
Nicolas Cage? Yeah. And your man was like, I want a solid gold. I can't remember if it was a solid gold Desert Eagle or a solid gold AK-47.
Something, yeah.
But it's like, it's a terrible metal. It's really malleable. If you were emptying a clip full of bullets, like in a solid gold gun, it would warp and it wouldn't work right. It's a stupid metal for any sort of hard function. Would you rather fight someone with a Valerian steel sword or with a gold sword?
Well, a gold sword, because that would be...
Because it's real.
You could be real, yeah. You shouldn't have used a made-up metal.
But would you rather fight someone with a Valerian steel sword or an adamantium sword?
Ooh.
No, wait, sorry. No, wait.
Adamantium.
No. Another damn tangent.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a stupid metal for that.
Yeah.
And yes, it's shiny, but really,
But
is
that's why
value?
through history, most stuff, including that, like what someone asking for a solid gold Desert Eagle would be stupid, but gold plating.
But
That's the thing. They make it gold. It looks cool.
But like, does it? Why does it? How does it?
To me, it doesn't. I think I don't like gold. I'm not a fan of gold. Even when I don't wear a lot of jewelry. But silver is. I much prefer silver. I don't think it looks as. I think it looks better.
No, but again, it's like we were told gold is nice,
Yeah.
and therefore we should value it,
Yeah.
and therefore people do.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
I know. It's like diamonds. Same thing.
I mean,
Diamond,
Don't get me started on diamond.
It's
just
like, but but it's also like pearls,
Yeah.
or it's like any rubies or anything. They're just crap you find in the ground,
Yeah.
or in
Although-
a flaming clam in the case of a pearl.
Obviously, we've all played Fallout here, the video game Fallout. There's also a
Yes.
TV show, really good worth watching if you haven't. It's fun. But the currency that they have in Fallout is,
Bottle caps.
yeah. And when I played Fallout first, like years and years ago, I always thought that was a bit, it's a video game, suspension of disbelief. It's a stupid idea, but go with it. I have loads of battle caps now. I can buy a gun. But actually, I realize if there really was some kind of a apocalypse and civilization fell, like before they had money, they were using things like, as you said, salt. But salt is actually functional.
Or seashells.
Shells.
Yeah.
And shells is just what you find on a beach.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's basically the 2,000 years ago version of bottle caps. It made me realize, if there really was an apocalypse and civilization fell, and suddenly, a few generations down the line, they all have these ancient stories of the former ones that were there, the world is ruined. You're finding bottle caps, and that might as well be a currency as well as anything else.
The thing is, you can go to T. Nicholas, yeah.
That's a hardware store here.
It's a hardware store, and you can buy a pickaxe, and then you can look for gold.
You can.
Yeah.
You're not going to find any.
I mean, well, actually, do you know where there's a lot of gold?
You're going to Croagh.
Yes, Croagh.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a ton. Well, not a ton, literally.
There's a
lot of gold.
There's literally a road made up on the side of Croagh, and it's like but they were like, I think it's gold they were looking for, isn't it?
Yeah, in Croagh.
Yeah, my father-in-law Dermot used to drive up there.
With a pickaxe.
Happy birthday, by the way, Dermot. It's his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Dermot.
On April Fool's Day.
Oh, the poor man.
But,
It's my birthday. Sure it is, bud.
but it's like, there's gold in Ireland, but just not any.
But I know there used to be a silver mine on the way out to Clifton there, Glengowla.
Oh yeah,
you can still visit
Glengowla
it.
Mines,
It's actually, I have no affiliation with Glengowla Mines, but it's definitely a place worth visiting because it's cool. You can actually go down.
We've been there. It's really cool.
This episode was brought to you by Glengowla Mines.
No, it wasn't. Right, for legal reasons. But yeah, it's a cool place to visit.
And speaking of gold and mines, the largest deposit of gold ever was found. No, probably a half a year ago or something. I heard this.
It was found half a year ago.
It was.
Oh, right,
discovered.
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
You just heard it half a year ago. I thought it could have been like in the 16th
No. As
century.
in, I heard it when it was... No, as in relatively recently.
Okay, cool.
Guess how much it is? I'll tell you, the previous largest one was 900 tons.
It was 900 tons. That was the previous... so it broke that record.
Yes.
1,000 tons. Let's go a little bit more.
Exactly.
Really?
Or, also known as a megaton.
Is it?
I was really hoping that they would name a city, welcome to megaton.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's another Fallout reference, I think.
Yes.
Fallout
And that's
3.
in China, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, was it in China?
Yeah, of
That's
course,
pity.
it's China.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not in a proper country,
statistically speaking. But then again, I don't know. But actually, when you talk about money being based on trust and everything, which, at one point, money was based on the gold standard. So it was a thing when they introduced the first of, every time we have, we're issuing $1, there's a $1 worth of gold in the reserve that we can. And it was only in the 70s that they kind of just decided, you know what, let's just not do that anymore and just let money just work on trust. As long as everyone believes it, it'll keep working. Which somehow it's still... No. See, the thing is, I don't not understand how money works. It fascinates me that it works because it's a totally made up concept that we all choose to believe. But friggin' Bitcoin. And someone just invented it themselves.
And then several other people invented several other ones. There's dozens of them.
Oh, there's... well, at one point, last I heard, there was literally thousands. Oh, man. Okay, wait.
What?
There was literally thousands. I don't know. The last I heard... 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, Mark, there
now there's got to be more
thousands.
because in order,
definitely thousands.
in order to set up a cryptocurrency of your own, firstly, I'll tell you about the blockchain a little bit, and I'll really,
if you can explain it like I'm 5.
Yes, well, honestly, yes, because my understanding of it is pretty tenuous. I'm not going to pretend like I know all about the blockchain. I really don't. But basically, have you ever done when you were a kid when you were younger, you remember the distributed computing thing for SETI? You could install this app.
I do, yeah.
Imagine that, but what it does is if you choose to mine Bitcoin, which is you just run an application on your computer. Now, I'm going to have to explain what mining Bitcoin is in a second, but basically, once multiple computers are all running a program that's all talking to each other and connected together, then that creates a framework of computing, which, if you consider it as kind of a distributed computing network, they're all talking together and they all work together, and that area is where the files of Bitcoin exist. And they exist there in a way that every Bitcoin transaction is all accounted for in there. So imagine it like a big ledger that's split up into millions of pieces, and each piece is stored on a different computer. So if you're going to rob a bank, Barry, you go into the big bank building and you go in the vault and you take away the money.
Yeah.
But with Bitcoin, you kind of can't do that because it's distributed everywhere. There isn't one big location centrally where all of the Bitcoin files are that contain, the value of each Bitcoin and where it all is. And the way it works is, if you could think, I don't know, is this geometric or exponential, whatever way that it gets created. Say the first Bitcoin took a second to create. The second Bitcoin took 2 seconds. But then the next one took 4, then 8, then 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, etc. So as time goes on, every Bitcoin that gets created, the next one to get created takes way, way longer. And the way it gets created is, if you can imagine like a encrypted database where there's a certain amount of compute that has to happen to generate the next kind of file in the list or in the row, and that file being call it a Bitcoin. So every Bitcoin that's being created from now on takes a huge amount more compute than the previous one did. And then the next one again is going to take even more. So you can actually, it's called mining Bitcoin, but really all it is run a computer program on, I would say, on your computer, but these days there's so much computing needed, you'd have to say on an array of servers with like stacks of graphics cards inside them. And all that compute time will eventually generate a Bitcoin by...
For who?
For you, because, and by the way, the way it works...
You generate another Bitcoin that is added to the ledger as bing, another Bitcoin is created.
Yes, and the way it's for
and
you,
anyone's
Barry,
allowed to do it.
Yeah, but the way it works, you need to first be, if you're going to run a program, this program, I guess, to mine Bitcoin, you have to set up a Bitcoin wallet. So when you eventually mine your Bitcoin, it'll go into your wallet, and you now have.
But if there's millions and millions of people mining for Bitcoin, and there's only one Bitcoin being made every exponential amount of time, then what are the odds of your wallet being the one?
No, and it's just got to do with how much compute you put into it. Now, that's the extent of my knowledge. That question is very, very good question, and I don't have the answer to it. But I'm sure that it's somehow done logically.
Is that computing? Is that the chain then? Is that the blockchain?
That's the blockchain. All that kind of a row of the ledger, really. But that's basically, I guess, at its most dumbed down version. And it's not that I'm dumbing it down. That's me reaching by my fingernails to the peak of my understanding of it, which is barely.
But you're absolutely right. That's nuts.
But what's interesting is the compute that you're talking about. To figure out that calculation.
What's it calculating? Because I remember the SETI one that you mentioned. That was taking little segments of space and scanning it.
Yeah.
I think it's just an increasingly more difficult algorithm to crack.
Yes, effectively,
yeah.
Who's making the algorithm?
Whoever invented Bitcoin.
Yeah,
they
right.
invented the blockchain.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is interesting. If you had a normal...
Is it Banksy?
No.
Okay.
No. If you had a normal calculator, that normal calculator, apart from the fact that you'd need to input the algorithm, that calculator wouldn't be good at doing the maths that are needed to figure out the algorithm.
It would hit that E at the end of the...
But what the hardware that is good at figuring out the algorithm is a 3D graphics card, of which NVIDIA specifically start putting out cards. That's why NVIDIA value has gone through the roof.
Yeah, they became one of the top 7, what do we call them, the Magnificent 7?
Yep.
Yeah, because it's like, before even graphics card existed, you just bought a computer, there was a computer chip in it, the CPU, computer processing unit, and that did everything. But then they realized, if you want to do graphical intensive stuff like video games, wouldn't it be better to have a CPU, but also a GPU, so that you have your computer processing unit doing all the normal compute stuff, but another dedicated chip just for graphics processing unit, and that's where the graphics card got born. And then, somehow, just by random chance or however way they work, it turns out that GPUs were better at doing the computation required to mine Bitcoin than CPUs. So all us gamers got burned back in 10 years ago or whatever, when suddenly graphics cards were at a premium, demand, because loads of these people were setting up server farms just full of servers with loads of graphics cards in each one, just basically doing the processing to add another Bitcoin to the blockchain and make money for themselves, and making graphics cards be scarce and therefore more expensive, which sucked. But that was back in the day, right? Now, when I say, by the way, I just realized I said this earlier, I'm not sure. I said the person who invented the blockchain is the person who invented Bitcoin. I may be wrong on that, because the blockchain technology, it's around that time it got invented. I don't know, did the person who invented Bitcoin piggyback onto the idea of it, or did he invent it together? I really just don't know enough about the origin of it. But blockchain is used for a load of other stuff, and there's actually talk that blockchain could be used for like a million. There's video games. One of my friends is basically he's just interested in all this kind of stuff and he knows a lot about it. But he was telling me how there's all these, do you know the video game Second Life?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't even know very well, but I'm just using it as an example. There are video game worlds where they're built on a blockchain and there's resources and objects in there that you can get. And at this stage, it sounds so kind of obscure and far-fetched. They're real and it's happening, but it's like, who's ever going to be? But if VR ever takes off, if that kind of a virtualization ever really happens, these worlds will suddenly become super valuable. And anyone who's in there, because as you can get from the whole gist of a blockchain, it's like getting in on the ground floor is enormously valuable. So, if you bought one Bitcoin back in, 10 years ago, whenever it was invented, you'd be sorted now. Think about it. And that's the kind of allure of this whole cryptocurrency kind of craze. Yeah. But the thing is, if you were going to create a cryptocurrency after Bitcoin, and like Donald said, literally there's thousands of them that came along, in the
I
years
imagine there's
after.
thousands that have come along and thousands that have died. And there's
always
like new
they're
ones.
always going boom and bust.
So is there like a 4 or 5 top 10 or?
Yeah.
Because I know Doge is one, isn't it?
Well,
no.
I'll come back to
It's
that in
a
a
famous
second.
one.
It is very
It's famous, but it's-
the reason is it's I'm going to first
it's a meme coin.
Yes, because
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies were basically hard to create. If you had the tech savvy, it's not hard really, but it's not something just anyone could do. Then someone basically created a kind of a, drop down click interface, kind of a real easy website way of creating your own Bitcoin. So yes, your own cryptocurrency. I'm probably going to unintentionally use Bitcoin and cryptocurrency interchangeably, inaccurately, as I'm talking, but
That's okay. Donald let it in post.
yeah, way to go, Donald. But basically, suddenly it's easy to create cryptocurrencies now. And when that happened, the first, what you exactly called it, a meme coin, was the Dogecoin. Because you know that, and I didn't really know this meme at the time, but the yellow dog thing. Someone just decided,
Shiba dog.
this whole meme coin thing is a thing now. I think that was the first meme coin. Somebody just created a cryptocurrency based on a meme for the crack, because you know what? It's kind of funny, right? And then somehow that blew up. And there is a real difference between genuine cryptocurrencies and meme coins, because anyone can create a meme coin. And it's almost like, if you can think of cryptocurrency is a currency, right? Okay, wait, now I'm going to have to go on and do another little tangent. But basically, if you first detach and step back in the old days, I'm going to say like 50 years ago, the world was a lot more based on a kind of a material production economy. You would, work in the furniture store and build a table and then sell that table, and that's a honest day's work. And now that the Western world has kind of evolved into a more, I don't know what the hell you want to call it, technically built kind of a thing, money is now not really made by making stuff. It is unusual when someone like Elon Musk goes, hey, I will sell cars, and he makes loads of money. The way you make money now is, if you watch the movie The Big Short, go and work in a financial institution where money is like a video game and you're just moving buttons on the screen like friggin' Severance, and suddenly you become richer than you could ever have become by working in a material economy, by just working in the pure financial sector where money is
Producing something.
fictitious idea at the best of times, and that's the best way and place to game it. So basically, cryptocurrency is a currency, you could say, but I think at this stage, it's more of a speculative stock market kind of a function than it is a currency. Even though technically it is a currency, you can buy stuff with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but most people, I would say, who have their foot in that world at all, they're not using it to buy stuff. They're using it to speculate and try to make money. So meme coin became the pinnacle of that, where, do you remember the Hawk girl?
Yes.
She made a meme coin,
Okay.
the Hawk coin, and
Jesus.
it blew up in popularity. And this is, things happen in the real world that grown-up people do, and I literally don't understand it. Somehow, millions of people bought into that. It spiraled into, I don't know, was it hundreds of millions of value? And then almost instantly, within a week, it was gone down to being totally worthless again.
And had she made money off it then?
See,
Yes,
but I don't think she made a lot. She was definitely played in that whole transaction. But this is what meme coins are. You just
But
make
did
a
the
funny
person?
meme.
Okay, so she obviously didn't create the meme coin. Then somebody created it of her
Yes.
or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure that she just...
Well, no, is she like what happened? What
She might have been
happened-
involved.
Well,
But
what
yes,
someone else
she
had said,
launched
"Hey."
it. But
what
yeah.
happened?
So the
with
person
her
that launched
particular-
it probably made a load of
She
money.
didn't have a clue what was happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with like the whole Hawk Tua thing happened in her case, and then she was
not
immediately
Google it.
picked up by was it Logan Paul?
I don't know.
It was one of the.
Well, he's a big guy. She looks small. He could probably pick her up by the
but no, but he picked her up because he has a
media.
he is a media kind of
Company.
business basically, like, and then as a part of that, she got her a chat show basically.
Not a chat show, a podcast.
She got a podcast.
See, that's why we can't get a good listenership.
It's all her fault.
They're all following her.
Yeah.
And then, but then what happened to her then is, then they launched a coin, and they ripped off people. They did do you know what a pump and dump is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a pump and dump where they pumped loads of money into it. It made the coin look really interesting. Loads of people bought into it because they were insecure and they just don't understand what's happening.
I mean, yeah, but see, I'm not going to say, oh, they were insecure and they didn't understand what's happening. Loads
That
of
is
people
what's happened.
lost their money on it because they wanted to make money. Like, see, the whole thing about Bitcoin is it's speculative. Some people make money and some people lose.
Right.
It's definitely
And
like the
you're-
Big Short then, or the Boiler Room, where they're trying to sell these penny stocks that where people that don't have a lot of money and don't have any financial savvy, where they say, hey, these stocks are only going to cost you like $2,000, but you'll make money on them, but they're not.
Well, I think me and Donald are actually on opposite sides of this conversation. I'll tell you why. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to try to frame it back, right? I believe, especially with meme coins, whatever you say about genuine cryptocurrency, which is a currency, and you could argue that it's real money, even though really it's mostly just speculatively being used right now. Meme coins are really just speculative. Most of them, they come on a blip, they blow up and they disappear. And I don't know any of them who's really hung around. I think Dogecoin has, thanks to Elon Musk. But basically, some people will lose money and some people will make money. They're all in with the same amount of knowledge, which is not a lot. 'Cause again, I try to always understand why someone does something, even if I don't get it. Like, I understand why Hitler killed loads of Jews. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I don't understand why someone would buy a meme coin. It's just that far removed from any logical processes to me. What are you?
They obviously think they're going to make money from it.
They think if I buy it and then sell it before it pops, some people get out in time, some people don't. Donald, you seem to be framing it, correct me if I'm wrong, that the people who got out in time seem to have been they played those other poor victims who...
Yeah, 100%.
I think they're all in it together.
No.
Well, no,
100%.
there
wait.
are crypto
No,
bros,
the-
right?
No, wait.
Yeah.
There's, I would say, in let's say the Hawk coin, okay?
Mm-hmm.
For example, that started off, let's say, to give it a time frame, let's say it started off on midday on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
By Sunday night, the whole thing was gone. It was
Yeah.
bust. Like, that's how quick it happened.
Wow.
Okay. They're like, if even that much. Okay. So what happened is she put out a thing going, hey guys, my coin is going to be launched.
I guess, do you know what? I guess you're right. A lot of silly listeners would have been following
because,
her.
Martin,
And,
there was
yeah.
a woman, there was a mother who put in $33,000 into it, and she put her kids' college fund and stuff into
Oh,
it.
jeez.
Okay. Now, who knows why she did it? Okay.
Because she was stupid.
In hindsight, she clearly, definitely should not have done it.
Mm-hmm.
But the 2 or 3 people at the top
Yeah.
who they knew exactly, and they knew from experience. It's like, okay, they were like, we could wait for it to build up a little bit more, but you know what? We'll cut our losses at this, and we'll sell the whole
Cut our
thing.
losses. We'll cut our winnings at this.
Yeah, cut our winnings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll cut our winnings at this. you
Okay,
know?
no, you know what? I'm actually going to retract what I said and
Yeah.
actually adjust my position. I actually think you're right. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, it's that whole thing. If you look around the table and you can't see who the cheat is, or no,
Or whoever the fool is.
The fool
Yeah.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
the mark.
That's horrible.
If you look
Then
around the
it's you,
table and you
is
can't
it?
see who the mark is, you're the mark.
Yeah, but it's true. I actually saw an ad for, I know, Donald, you mentioned the pump and dump scheme earlier, right? And just to explain to our listeners, be careful if you're Googling it. Basically, it is where, well, I saw an ad and I'll tell you about the ad because the thing that kills me about it is how blatant the ad was, right? The ad was saying, hey, sign up to our group, pay an entry fee, and you'll be added to a Signal chat. And what they would do is everyone in the Signal chat, and you'd have like thousands of people in there, would all agree to start buying this particular cryptocurrency, you know, starting in, it would be 6-hour windows. So for this 6-hour window, buy. So people will be buying this, you know, no-name Bitcoin with no real kind of a history behind it, and it's low and cheap. Then as the price starts going up, because loads of people are buying it, the company that kind of is running this scheme would have a big marketing wing, and they would start pushing and marketing, hey, look at this next big upcoming coin. And you'd see over the last few hours, it is flying up through the roof, enticing a lot of other people who are not in on it to say, oh, that looks like a good investment. They'll put money into it. Then when the time comes, they will declare, right, everyone sell quick. And everyone in the group knows, all right, the ass is going to fall out of this thing. All sell at the same time. Everyone else who wasn't in on it gets burned. And the people who kind of were in the Signal chat just made a load of money out of nowhere. I'm going to say out of thin air, out of other people's pockets. That's the pump and dump scheme. But what is a killer about it is the fact, and this is kind of the biggest thing about cryptocurrency, like the financial industry, especially since the bust in 2008, got regulated up the wazoo, because the bust in 2008 entirely happened because the financial regulator and the whole central bank were basically asleep at the wheel, and the car went over a cliff, and suddenly the whole economy just died. And we all know that. But the solution was, let's regulate the hell out of everything, basically keep an eye on the financial industry again, because it is literally like a video game where there's all these hacks and cheats and little loopholes. And if you're in the industry, you know them. And every other dumbass outside the industry, like us here, we don't know what's going on. We just do our day's work and get our day's pay, and that ain't the way to ever get rich. Not in the world of today now, because the money is a fake system that's just there. And if you know how it works, you can game it like any system. So anyway, the financial industry is now regulated out the wazoo, except cryptocurrency, which isn't. So you can make an ad overtly stating, hey, let's scam people out of their money like this.
Sign up.
You know, pay me money and I'll help you scam them.
That's interesting.
And that's overt and official and allowed. And if you go and look across the pond to America, the whole thing about the Biden administration was they were really cracking down on this stuff. We got to rein it in. And they were talking about doing all this kind of a stranglehold of regulation on the cryptocurrency industry. Along comes Trump. He attends some cryptocurrency conference, definitely got paid a ton of money, definitely. And hey, Persualic as I am, he's like, hey, I love Bitcoin, I love cryptocurrency, no regulation, everyone is crypto.
And guarantee they just say to him, hey, we'll have you on the ground floor of all of these.
Oh yeah, well, do you know what you know, talking about meme coins, Trump launched his own meme coin, I'm sure you know, or maybe don't. And the day he launched it, Melania Trump launched her own meme coin. I think it was the next day. It just kind of feels really kind of like I don't know, just shows that sums up their relationship perfectly. I don't know. Anyway, I just thought it was very funny.
But there's probably a reason behind it though.
Oh, well,
they're conniving. And there's someone pulling their strings that said, you do this, then you do that, and then that way we'll be.
Well, I don't know. I definitely got the feeling that like she heard that he was doing this thing, and she's like, well, I want in on that too, damn it. Yeah. And just got her own people to do it for her. I'm totally making this up. But it's way more juicy gossip that way.
Have you seen the film?
Thumbnail.
Have you seen the film Wall Street?
Greed is good.
Yeah, have you seen that?
Yes.
The film?
Yes.
And Barry?
Yeah. So, I haven't seen it since it came out.
I don't remember it.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So
like, buy companies and gut them.
Loved you in Wall Street.
The whole idea of Wall Street is there's this young trader who goes to Wall Street, which is Charlie Sheen, isn't it?
Yeah.
And basically, Charlie Sheen's dad works in an airport.
He's a union man in the airport.
He's a union man in the airport. And Charlie Sheen's dad is like, hey, son, we're going to float on the stock market and we're going to be worth this much. So then Charlie Sheen finds this out from his dad because his dad just told him. Now, his dad didn't tell him maliciously, but Charlie Sheen is like, wait a second, I see a chance to make money here. And he buys shares, and that's basically what he gets in trouble with. He does insider trading, and that's what Wall Street's about.
The funny thing is, even though I haven't seen that movie, I couldn't tell you Charlie Sheen's character's name, Martin Sheen's character's name, but I remember Michael Douglas's character's name, Gordon Gekko.
Oh, Gordon Gekko, yeah.
I have no idea why I remember that. But
Yeah.
maybe Stan Lee was onto something. If you give them alliterated names. Gordon Gekko, Peter Parker.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's I think that's a very interesting way of understanding.
Yeah, and I
money.
think that's kind of like now I'm making this up, but around the time where the world was moving away from, I'm a union man working in the real factory floor or whatever, making real things with my hands. And then his son is coming along, like, I work in the financial industry. It's more profitable for me to buy a company and gut it and fold it than it is to actually just make it keep doing stuff in the real world, because that'll make more money, numbers on the computer screen kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like
And that's the thing.
era.
And that's the thing about corporations and capitalism. It's chasing that bottom line. It's that we have to have quarter by quarter growth, otherwise our shareholders are going to be cross. So some of the things I think and about money and finances is things like, if your company makes a vital thing, say for example medicines or something like that, they should not be allowed to float on the stock exchange. Now I know that means they've much smaller investment prospects, I suppose, because obviously the stock market is there. The whole idea behind the stock market is that people can invest in your business, and then the company takes that money invested and uses it to grow the business and make more stuff. But I think if you're making stuff that people need to live, like medicine as well, you shouldn't be allowed, because you very, very quickly go from like, we're making these medicines that save people, to, hey, where's my money? Don't have your money? Fuck you. It becomes a you got to play the vig.
Well, you
know what I
can
mean?
say that, Barry, but then again, and I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way, but there's another way of balancing that equation, because I do understand if creating a drug that's going to cure this disease is going to cost 100 billion quid, very few people have 100 billion quid, and those who do, maybe they don't want to risk it on a roll of the dice that might never actually produce the drug. So what you do is you say, hey, go on the stock market, do your thing, let capitalism happen and make the pill appear or the drug or whatever, and then have governments step in, and people who can't afford that buy that medicine. Maybe that's what your social care should be for.
But here's the interesting thing. If you have a company who's not floated on the stock market, you're a privately owned entity.
ByteDance, for example.
I don't know what that is.
Is that the crowd that do TikTok? Yeah.
Okay. So if you're a privately owned company and you're making medicine and you come up with a cure for cancer, like you mentioned there, you can make that and then sell it, right? If you're a floated company, your stockholders are your shareholders are going to turn around and say, don't release that drug. Make it weaker so that it doesn't cure cancer. Make it weaker so that all it does is treat it, because treatment is worth way more money than cure. If you cure it, then they're not going to be buying our drug anymore.
Barry.
So make sure that doesn't cure anything. We don't want any more cures. We want treatments.
But Barry, here's the great thing that Adam Smith talked about. Here's the great thing that Adam Smith talked about in The Wealth of Nations, where he was talking about, okay, a company will come along and the company will do that thing you were talking about. Okay, they'll have the cure, and that the board will tell them, like, don't sell the drug, don't make it 100% successful. But another company will come along and they will make the drug better. And that's competition.
That's competition.
Yeah.
But that'll work as long as they don't break proprietary laws.
Well, yeah, I was going to say,
'Cause-
like Adam Smith said in his Wealth of Nations, if you allow capitalism to run unbridled like this, it'll be like an invisible hand will guide society. And his vision would be just what you said, Donald. One company maybe invented the full cure for cancer, but they're only going to make it weaker for this reason. But then some other company will come along and say, well, if you're only selling the weak version, we'll sell the full cure version.
And then
the
they're
problem
tied
with
up
that
in
is
litigation for years.
that's
because-
pretty much been, I think, pretty much debunked by any thinker today. Adam
because
Smith was
I'll tell you what
too extreme,
what would
and-
happen in our society if a company started even thinking about doing that. The first company just go, yeah, we just bought you.
Yeah, exactly. I think capitalism has grown too big and it's eaten itself up as well.
And of course, that chasing the bottom line thing, what it does is that they're constantly looking for the next thing to blow up and make money out of.
Yeah, true.
And that that's okay. That's fine. I mean, it's taken things that I remember years ago. We would go to the cinema, and you go to the cinema. It was a really good experience. You'd go and you'd watch a movie, and it was something that not a lot of people did. Then it became, and I don't know why, some company chasing profits, I don't know, cinemas or whatever, it became a thing that people did, not just because they were moviegoers and they loved movies. They weren't cinephiles. They were just
Yeah.
like, going to the movies is the thing that they do on the TV in America, so we have to do it now too. But they didn't care about them, so they're like, this is your man from the thing, and they're talking through the movie. And this is where that whole movies got ruined. The cinema, rather, got ruined. Movies, it happens in movies constantly. So someone will come up with a movie and it's a really good concept and it's really enjoyable and it's new and it's kind of fresh and it makes a load of money. And then the next few of them are the same and people love them and they go to the cinema.
You're talking
and
like a
watch them.
franchise of
Yeah,
things.
a franchise or even a genre.
Oh, yeah.
So then the studios are like, wow, these things are making loads of money. Here, you make that movie. You make that movie. All in that genre. Make sure it's in that genre. Make sure it's in that genre. Then they're like, their investments are starting to, they're making money, but they're not making as much as they were on those first few. And it's because the idea is getting a bit stale.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what the studio then goes, make that money, but look it, we're going to have a heavier hand in this because it's our investment and it's not making as much money as it should. So make sure the movie's got this in it, it's got this in it, and they ruin the movie because they haven't a clue what they're talking about. And then that genre dies because it becomes stale. And you could take
Pretty harsh review of Hollywood. But
you could, but you can not just Hollywood. You can take almost any industry, and that kind of happens with it. It happens in food. It happens in like comic books. It happens in toys. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like there's somebody released a toy. It's fantastic, and it's making money. But then the sales will start to dwindle because lots of people have already bought it. So they're like, well, we need to increase the profits. So reduce the amount of plastic in it to make thinner plastic. Make it, And then they start releasing all different types of it and trying to rejig it up, and it never works. But they're chasing that all the time because they have to make more money than they did last year. They have to make more money than
I guess
last year.
ultimately the problem is there's never enough money. You know what I heard? We've all heard about, the 1% this, the 1% that.
It's not that anymore, is it? It's less than that now.
Well, actually, if you want to fraction down that 1% even more, but let's say for now, the top 1% of
the 1%.
wealth in the world, the top 1% of people who have the top 1% richest people, that's the phrase I'm looking for, have more money than the bottom 50%. Imagine 1% of people on Earth have more than literally half of all the people on Earth. I don't know. Even though I knew this, it still kind of blows your mind all over again somehow.
Yeah, and for someone like me who doesn't really understand money and stuff like that, it's kind of like, it's so nebulous.
Well, actually, I was going to say, randomly, I was listening to Joe Rogan when none other than Thanos was on. You man Josh Brolin. the actor.
Josh Brolin, okay, yeah.
And he asked Joe Rogan this random question. I was like, that is a really good question.
Why are you such a dick?
Well, no, but he asked, actually, I can answer that question if you want
okay.
to, but I won't.
Yeah, don't.
But he asked, what's your relationship with money? And it kind of came out the blue, but I was like, that's a really good question. So, Barry, I'll ask you first. Feel free not to answer if you wish not to. It's kind of a very personal question as well.
We hate each other. Money to me is like water. It's literally like, here's some money. Oh, look, it's gone. It literally just flows through my hands. And it's like, at a very DNA level, I've taken on the mantra of you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's not even to the afterlife. It's like I can't take it with down the road because it'll be gone by the time you get to the roundabout.
Yeah.
That's been me with money always, my entire life. And I'm sure if I knuckled down and tried hard, I could probably get better at money. But it's just something that, and it's not. I suppose I don't think saying I don't care about money is accurate because obviously, I care about it. I need to pay my bills, I need to pay the mortgage and stuff. But honestly, I don't freaking care about money. I think life is more important than money. I think living a life is more. Now, having money makes it easier to live that life.
Yeah.
So but I don't want to put in the effort. I really don't. So yeah, that's my relationship with money. We don't have one. We are no contact. Ye?
Me? Well, Donald first.
I love money, and I love the idea of money, and I love the handling of money.
And you always have.
Yeah, and I always have.
I
Definitely.
remember when we were literally kids, and the first person ever who even explained to me what an ATM was you, Donald. Because the first ATM had just arrived in Galway, and Donald was like, he went and got a card, and he was like going to go in and use it, and I was like, what even is this? How could this be a thing?
That didn't happen.
That really did.
Donald going to an ATM to take money out. I don't believe you for a minute.
One of my earliest memories is, and this is now one of my earliest memories, lying on the floor counting up to 50 pence in 2 pences. And the thing is,
and then
lying on the floor, making it rain with coins as well.
then putting them away somewhere hidden.
but I always
In your
just
Bosco elegant.
Bosco elegant. But I always just loved. I literally love holding money. I love the concept of money. I have shares not because I plan on. I love money in the way that even though a person wouldn't play loads of soccer necessarily, but they might play soccer on the weekend, they still love looking
I was going
at
to say
United or something.
I could nearly finish that sentence for you the way you're talking. It's like you love money the way a man would love his wife.
Yeah. I was going to ask him. In a biblical sense.
No, but it's like
Because it's filthy. It is filthy. Do not love your money in a biblical sense because it is filthy.
Money is the grossest,
Yeah.
most disgusting thing.
It's up there with mobile phones and toilet seats.
Worse. I'd say it's definitely worse than phones, and I would say right up there with toilet seats. I'll tell you why, because I worked in a bank years ago. I worked in the cash center.
That's right.
So
you destroyed
I would
money
literally
for
be
a living.
Yes, I would be like just handling money all day, like literal cash.
people.
But I'm telling you, if you ever were like, oh, it's lunch break, I'm going to go and eat, you would not forget to wash your hands and scrub them with all the disinfectants, because the stink off your hand, you might as well be working with sewage as working with that. And ever since then, I've always thought it, like, let's say you're walking down the street and you see, I don't know, a cigarette berry on the ground, and you're like, "Ooh, that's a good cigarette. I'm going to pick that up and smoke it." It's kind of dirty and there's a bit of a cow shit on it, but I can kind of rub that off. No, you leave it there because it's gross. Or a chocolate bar.
Most
no,
people.
Chocolate bar, maybe.
but if you saw a €50 note, and yeah, it's kind of wet and it looks dirty, but you're going to pick it up. Well, you know what? Maybe you wouldn't, but I guarantee you that someone else would. So money, you could drop a €50 note down a toilet.
But that's the
and somebody
50 euro
else
notes
will
in the
fish it
toilet
out of there.
rolled up are actually quite common to find.
Really?
Yeah. Because apparently a lot of people, they use it to do their
Yes.
Bolivian marching powder, and then they forget to bring it with them.
I
So
actually heard a statistic, and I can't remember exactly what it was. Something like,
95.
is it, of all notes have some residue of cocaine on them?
Apparently, something like
Wow.
that.
Yeah, that's mental.
Again, actually, disclaimer on that. Pulled it out of my head.
Well,
Could be
yeah.
completely wrong.
Like everything we're saying today, probably totally bullshit.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, Don. I kind of interrupted you there.
no, but basically, it's like
But he was getting a little hot under the collar. So,
we have to cool you down there a bit.
yeah.
No, I was saying I actually I love dealing with money in the way that I have some shares, and I have some shares in Tesla, in Nvidia, in
You
Microsoft.
should have sold those shares in Tesla.
Well,
They're coming down on
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh, and that they've gone to 1/3 of the value they were.
When you bought them?
No.
they
They've
still-
gone to one. No, wait.
Before
wait.
Elon Musk
Wait.
did an
They've
Nazi
gone to
salute.
1/3 of the value they were 2 months ago.
Oh, wow. And when did you buy yours? Are they?
Oh, I've had my shares in Tesla for like years.
And are they worth more now than when you bought them?
Oh no, now they're worth less.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But okay, I'm going to say a one-liner here, but it's like not to be picked up on because it's for another episode. I think that eventually Tesla is going to make literally a killer robot army, and the thing that's going to pay for it is, and Tesla will make it, and then that's why I'm keeping my Tesla stock, because literally when they build a killer robot army, Tesla stock is going to go through the roof.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they won't kill the people that have Tesla stock.
No, like, he's a loyalist.
Loyalist.
I actually saw a really funny picture today of, you know, Edward Norton from that movie where he was this racist psycho guy.
American History X.
American History. There's just a picture of his face looking satisfied, and written on top was, thank God for the world of today. Now you can drive around with a Nazi symbol on your car, and everyone will, if you have a Tesla, and everyone will just think someone vandalized it. And a picture of him looking really satisfied.
I love the fact that people have started putting on their older Teslas.
Oh, yeah.
I bought it after he went nuts, and it's like,
Yeah.
you bought it after he called a rescue diver guy a pedophile?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because that was like 2018, buddy.
Honestly, I've been such a big fan of Elon Musk for so long that things like that happened, and I would just shake my head and go, "Oh, Elon Musk, it's like you're a child."
And you slip up every now and again.
And I know one of my best friends once said, Tesla would be better off if the Tesla board just took his Twitter off him.
Yeah. Or
And
just fired him
I-
away from
well-
Tesla altogether.
Well, actually, possibly. But let's say if they just took his Twitter off him, and I think if they did, the world would have been saved. It seems like a small thing, but I think what really happened to Elon Musk that radicalized him is he fell down the Twitter, now X, rabbit hole. But anyway, back to your love ode to money.
So I think that in order to appreciate money more, everyone should buy some stocks and shares.
See, I think that's basically speculative kind of stuff.
No, but it's not speculative. It's kind of like if you
Not if
like.
you keep holding on to it as the value drops.
No,
I don't know anything about money, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it's supposed to work.
No, it's like it's kind of like if you like flowers, you'll go and plant roses and stuff in your garden.
Yeah.
If you like baking, you will
Careful.
bake. You know, huh?
Careful.
If you like,
Yeah, so it's something you're interested in, but I will say, when you say anyone should do this, I can tell you right now, I could not imagine anything more boring.
Same.
It's just
Makes-
effort for nothing. I'd rather just play a video game and see my level up in Call of Duty was more satisfying to me than fluting around with trying to make that number go up and that number move over there. It's just
And I've
effort.
met people who deal in stocks on a daily basis. They have is it eToro or one of those apps on their phone, and every morning they kind of look at what's happening and they'll buy 20 euros of this and 30 euros of that, and at the end of the day they're like, they've told me like, oh, if I can make a couple of euro every day, I'm happy out, you know.
Yeah.
And some days I lose, and if I lose, I stop for the day. But then the next day I have my budget again for today, and I'll do it. And to me, it's just another form of gambling, really.
Well,
like.
yeah, but it's like if you're in it for that and it gives you enjoyment,
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
you
I
know.
know I didn't judge the guy. You
But
know.
it is, to me, would just be work, and it would not be enjoyable at all.
It doesn't sound to me either.
yeah, but it's it's a classic thing of.
Wistful.
So anyone listening, Donald is just staring vacantly up at the sky, just
No, it's like
Picturing himself as Scrooge McDuck diving into that big pool of coins.
no, it's like, you know the way they say, if you enjoy what you're doing, then it's, you know, you'll never work a day in your life type of thing. So it's that kind of thing. If you
And I guess in finance, that's definitely going to be true.
yeah.
If you love finance,
Yeah.
you're never going to work a day in your life.
So, Mart, do you have other things that are interesting to ask, do you?
I
Have
do.
you answered the
yeah,
your
go on,
your
yeah.
relationship with money?
Well, no.
I mean, you kind of have in the
kind of,
conversation. but
Actually, can
give
I
us
just
a-
say one more thing? Now, okay, that there's the almost licentious version of why I like money.
What does licentious mean?
Licentious means it's a cool word. It's a biblical word. It's not biblical, but they use it in the Bible. But it's for like almost deriving sexual pleasure from something.
I'm sorry I asked. Please continue.
As in, you know the
Say
way
it again.
You know the way if someone is a lech,
Yeah.
they're like licentiously looking. They're like looking over something type of thing. You know,
Say it again.
licentious.
Licentious.
Yeah.
I like it. Go on.
So it's like-
we should do a word of the week.
That's the word of the week. Licentious.
Things didn't ask for, didn't need to know. Word of the week.
I like that idea, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Continue.
Bonus points
Now,
if you can pronounce it.
But there is the thing as well of so I ran two businesses, kind of three businesses if you look at the one in Galway and stuff. I ran two businesses on my own because I loved the whole idea of I love making money and all this kind of thing. Now it turns out loving making money and making the money are two different things. Okay. But it's like, so now I'm just looking for simply a job that will
So you're,
just...
you're more like the lech now again. You're far away from me. Look at the money over there. Oh, look at the money over there.
But it's like, no, but now I'm like, it's kind of, you know the way you were saying, Barry, I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but it's like, when I was self-employed, and then there's the thing, Mart, of I woke up in the morning and I did stuff with kind of, I did things and then I got money for it. There's a different relationship with the money that you earn than if you go and work for someone and then you don't, it's not that you don't have to do anything, but at the end of the month, you know you're going to get paid. Or the end of the week, you know you're going to get paid.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, a standard salary that you're been working for the man versus kind of, you know, like that self-employed ethos of the more work I do, the more money I get. But
Yeah.
also the less work I do, the less I get. So
Yeah.
it's kind of more,
And
you feel more accountable
when
and
you
you've earned
do,
it more.
When you do get the money is more rewarding. When you do get the
If
money.
you earn it
when
yourself.
If you earn it yourself.
It's kind of like if you build your own furniture.
Yes,
Like you can go and
100%.
buy a chair and that's lovely. But if you
Yeah.
build the chair yourself
Yeah.
and it's a good chair, then
Yeah.
that's much more satisfying.
you can make an
Oh, no,
apple
I'd
tart.
rather just buy a chair that's already built and I don't have to do anything. And it gets delivered and put in my
Yeah,
house.
but that means you don't know what the joy of actually building the thing is.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be joy for me.
Okay. You were saying, Mart, you were going to tell us your relationship with money.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I kind of this a little bit the same as you, Barry. I've never been good with money and I've never held on to money ever. But I think also, I even remember when it happened. I was on a salary and I was always like super broke and always like 1 week before payday, counting the minutes to get to payday. And I think is when my salary went to about 35k, I think, was you go over a line and you're like, oh, I have enough.
I have money left over at the end of the month.
Yeah, or at least I have enough that
get
I
to
don't
payday.
run out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't have enough to go on holidays. I
Yeah.
don't have loads. There is a line.
But you
and
get
I
to the
don't
point
know
where
it
you're
is,
like-
but it exists. And I think when you go over that, you're like, and then you get more money and that's fine too.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
but now you're able to put a few quid aside and you're not worried anymore. Oh, if the car breaks down, I'm screwed.
yeah, I should say I actually don't have any money at all somehow. But that's a whole other thing. But
Yeah.
it's just there. Yeah, there's a point. Like I think also
I've
just
read
been
about that.
in a job.
I've read about that whole thing of getting to the point where I've read about it. I don't know personally what it's like to get to the point where your income gets to a point where you're not worried about money, where there's excess money in your account every month because you're not spending it. You're not going crazy like you were in your 20s or whatever, and you're earning enough. And the realization of that for someone that comes from money, it never comes. But for someone that comes from, say, borderline poverty or poverty, getting to that point can be such a strange feeling. Can be so powerful, a strange feeling. It's almost like a religious awakening because they realize they're not poor, and they realize that, and it might take a few months of being in that state to realize that that they've been not anxious, but there's been something different in their lives and they can't figure out what the hell. And they realize then it's a lack of stress. It's the lack of anxiety of thinking, if the car breaks down, I'm screwed, or if the landlord kicks us out, we're going to be home. If they change the rent, we're done. Or if this bill goes up, or if this happens, or if there's a medical emergency, anything at all, you're screwed. And a few months of having like money left over every month and your nesting, I suppose, is building or whatever, they realize that anxiety is gone, and it's meant to be like literally like just a moment of just pure weight off your shoulders type of thing.
If you've been there and you go past the point. Now, like obviously I've never been that poor or struggling at any point, so mostly. So I've been actually okay. But but I just feel like there is a point where now again, like I don't go out as much as I would love to go out because I can't afford it and going out is so expensive and all this other stuff. I'm not saying, hey, I'm a millionaire. But there's a point where you're comfortable enough. But then I also think there's a concept called the hedonic treadmill where it's like basically everyone is, there's a certain kind of a default level of satisfaction that everyone's at. And they did the crazy experiment where they interviewed, I don't know how they managed to line this up, but they kind of managed to establish the kind of happiness level, I guess, of people who won the lotto before and after, and people who were paralyzed in an accident before and after. And they found out that actually both sides of that really extreme and awful equation kind of more or less just revert back to the baseline level of happiness that they were at before. So, after a certain kind of a baseline point where you have the, Maslow's pyramid of needs of shelter and food and the basics, then all extra money doesn't actually make you happy. Shock, surprise.
They needed to research that.
Well, yeah. But it's amazing to hear, though.
It is amazing to hear, and it's amazing to think. And one of the things I think it kind of hints at is that these people, the Elon Musks, the Bezos, the Zuckerbergs, they're sick. There's an illness in their head that they have to make more money, that they have to accumulate more money. Do you know what I mean? And you could see it. I think that someone like Bill Gates seems to have gone through it and come out the other end, and now he's just like, I don't care, I'm giving it away now. Do you know?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these other billionaires, millionaires, multi-millionaires, and all the rest of it, they're just there's an addiction. There's an addiction there that they have to get more. They have to get more, and you even see it in people who aren't millionaires. People who are like, I must climb the corporate ladder. I need to get that next promotion so that I can go from 40k a year to I need to get to 60. I need to get to 100. I need to get to 150. Then I'll be really happy. And then they get to 150. And they're like, no, I need to get to 200. Then I'll be really happy. And it's just, to me, it's just an illness. To me, it's like I have enough money to just about survive. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Tell me this, would you like to win the lotto?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I just said I was happy, but,
I mean, obviously, yeah. And just to state it, obviously, me too, yes. Have I ever, I think I've told you this, Donald, but I don't know if I ever told you this, Barry, right? now we're going to go back to another previous episode. I'm not even going to ask you to answer the question to me. In fact, I'll even say, don't answer the question to me. I'll speak to our viewers as well, right? Do you believe in an interventionist God? Not a God. Maybe there's a God. Maybe he's a pantheist and all this. Do you believe in an interventionist God?
As Nick Cave asked this question.
Well, yes. Yeah. Who will, maybe put a little deft touch here and there to make the world a better place, or help this person when they pray or when they're in need. Maybe they don't even ask. And, if you believe in an interventionist God of any type and to any degree, even maybe just a slight tiny touch here and there, right? If you do, then I would suggest you make a promise to that God. Now, this is a promise to your God, so you don't tell anyone else. You don't have to anyway, you can if you want. Don't tell anyone else, and you literally only basically talk to your God in your own mind and make this promise. Promise your interventionist God that if you win the lotto, you will give half to charity. Oh. Now, if there is an interventionist God sitting up in heaven or wherever, and he's thinking, oh, I need to do good here or there or somewhere, and he sees, oh, if I give this lotto win to Barry, half of it will go to his favourite charity, which happens to be this thing that I'm trying to help right now. So, hey, presto, alakazam, you're kind of volunteering to become God's vessel and in the process get loads of money. I would suggest everyone does that. I would even go so far as to say, if you're like Richard Dawkins' hardcore atheist,
do it anyway.
Make the promise anyway. Yeah. But the only thing is, you could promise it, and then if you win, you can keep the money. What's he going to do about it, right?
Do another little intervention. Somebody speeding their cars
exactly.
through a school zone while I'm bringing my son home. Splat!
I wouldn't chance that, right? I would think, don't make the promise, or make it and definitely mean it and keep it just in case.
I go one further. But, don't do it in your head, because what if you can't read your mind?
Well, I
know we're talking about God. I would say go up Croagh and shout it from the highest point you can.
And while you're there, bring a pickaxe just in case.
Just in case, bring the pickaxe as well.
No, but I actually genuinely, in all seriousness, I advise people to do this, because you know what? Maybe it'll make a difference. You don't know. It's one of these tiny little incremental things that maybe might influence something. I think it's worth rolling the dice on.
I do not think it's worth rolling the dice. I think get a steady income and depend on compound interest, and then you will make money gradually over
But
time.
you'll never be a millionaire. See, the only thing is...
tell Warren Buffett that he won't be a millionaire.
Wait.
Well, he already is.
Does Warren Buffett just do his 9 to 5, working for the man, another day, another dollar?
No, he doesn't work for the man, he works for himself.
He is the man, that's the point.
He is the man. He's the machine that
if you ever want to be a
millionaire... No, wait, but wait... He is now, what?
He's the machine that the rage are raging against.
No, but wait. He is working for himself now, okay? But when he started off, he's the man now, but when he started off, he was literally going around and he would tell friends, like, hey, you find stocks and shares boring, give me some money, I will make you more money in the long run.
Yeah, but basically what you're saying is he started off being a self-employed person running a business, and that business became really successful. And what I'm saying is, we're basically on the same page here. I don't think you'll ever become a millionaire working a 9 to 5 in a job for someone else. If you want to be a millionaire, you become
CEO
self-employed.
of Coke become a billionaire recently. He's the first billionaire. He's the first person to become a billionaire by being an employee.
Really?
Holy crap! Really?
Rather than being the owner of a company or the owner of something. He doesn't own Coke.
Wow.
He's just the CEO. But he's the first person to become.
Well, that
I think
speaks
again
damnations about the salary caps of CEOs and stuff.
It also ruins your idea of that you'll never become rich if you're just working for the man.
Foiled again.
All I have to do is
Because
run
he
Coke.
proved just by rolling up his sleeves and pulling himself up by his bootstraps.
He started in the post room and now look at him. So when is the last time you guys used real world physical money made of trees or metal?
Yesterday.
Yes, yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
I paid for Oshin's judo class, which doesn't have virtual banking or whatever you want to call it. Contactless.
Do you mostly use kind of virtual, what do you call it? Not kind of...
I know, the word is gone.
Cashless.
Yeah, cashless, that's the one, yeah. I once went 9 months of a year and without using cash at all. Good few years ago, pre-COVID. And I can't remember why it started, but I remember I realized, oh man, I think it was when I discovered that I could do contactless with my phone. So it was that era when that was starting. And I was like, this is cool. I'm not going to use cash ever again. And then eventually I think our washing machine was broken. We had to get some laundry done. And the place we went didn't have any bloody contactless, and I had to go and take money out, and I was giving out to them. I was like, I've 9 months I've been not using cash, and now I have to dirty money again. But yeah, so 9 months is the longest I've gone without using cash. I was cashless. Yeah,
I definitely might have gone a few weeks without using cash, but in general, I use cash still.
Do you still use if you were going to go to the shop and buy a pint of milk kind of thing?
No, I would always use the card.
use a card for that, but I have to get cash because some of Oisín's
like for example, like
activities.
Lucy does stuff and they only take cash.
Yeah, so the judo only takes cash. The ogress that he goes to, the youth club he goes to, only takes cash. So you got to have.
But as the
cash
world
lying
becomes more and more cashless, do you concern about older people who are becoming increasingly detached from the world
100%.
that they can't
100%.
understand?
Oh,
And
100%.
weird. And
Yeah.
if you go to a bank now, you're queuing for at least 2 hours because they have one teller instead of back in the day when they had 10.
If you can go to a bank.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
Like there's no bank. The closest bank.
But the banks don't care because businesses don't care because those people are dying out anyway. So
Like the closest bank that's in, let's say you're in a place in Carrow or that kind of thing. The closest bank is in Spittle.
Spittle. Yeah, it's about
And
20
it's like,
miles away.
and they might find it just uncomfortable. A person might find it uncomfortable to sit in the car. They might find it uncomfortable to sit in a bus. They simply mightn't have anyone. Now they can do loads of business banking with the post office.
Well, I
which
was
is
going to
great.
say, because if I can quote Winston Wolfe from Pulp Fiction, move out of the sticks, boys. If you're telling me this poor person lives in a rural area, yeah, well, tough.
Is the AIB in Carrow closed? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
That was a lovely
just
little bank.
it's just Bank of Ireland now.
Oh, it's a Bank
Actually,
of Ireland, is it?
No, sorry. It's just AIB in the post office.
Yeah,
That's all. I don't know why it said it's AIB, Bank of Ireland.
Which bank are you with?
I am with AIB and I have an N26 card and I have a Revolut card.
Okay.
AIB and Revolut.
And tell me this, do you pay fees to AIB? Like
Not a
annual or whatever?
No idea.
Man,
Probably.
Well, let me tell you something. You should definitely check that out. Because it's one of those things where, imagine if I told you, hey Barry, there's a hole in your pocket and every month, like, €6 fall out of it.
Good luck to find €6 in my pocket.
Well, do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean,
Or
yeah.
It's like, it's really a definite case of why would you, like these days for me, and I declare this to everyone I meet on the street, why is anyone paying
You're
bank
that
fees?
crazy guy that's going around town
Yes, I
telling
stand on a
people.
cardboard box. No, but it's like, why would anyone pay bank fees? And I know the first thing I say is, ugh, the hassle.
Yeah.
Do you know what? When I opened up my bank account many moons ago in like permanent TSB, it was free at the time. By the time I closed it, I was paying like, I don't know, £10 a month or something. Because they kept getting fines for all these financial irregularities in their accounts. So then they had to pass those fines on to their customers.
Instead of just doing the
after
right
years
thing.
and years of constantly increasing this, it was like, you know what I want to do? Close this account and open another account that's totally 100% free. And I mean,
That was Revolut, is it?
no, well, I'm on N26 because at the time Revolut wasn't registered as a officially fully sanctioned kind of insured bank yet. They are now. But N26 or Revolut, the only disadvantage is I can only withdraw cash from a ATM 5 times a month for free. The 6th time I still can withdraw cash, but I have to pay like a little fee on it,
Okay.
which is still 1,000,000 times less than permanent TSB were
And
charging
to
me
be
every month
fair,
anyway.
how often do you go to an ATM?
I would go to an ATM once every 3 or 4 months.
So you can go to it once anyway, and just go right. This month, I'm like, if you have, I need cash, so I'll go to it once I get paid. I'll go in, I'll take 200 quid out.
Yeah.
and that's all the cash.
Or
I'm
you
going
can
to
go
need.
every week.
Yeah.
And still you have time.
I mean, what you're talking about, Mart, is it's a thing that I definitely believe in. That if you have a kid and you let the kid just, I always looked at money like it was like you're keeping an eye on children. There's a brilliant African proverb about fire. Okay, if you look after the fire when it's young, it'll look after you when it's older. Yeah, which is a cool one.
No,
okay,
yeah.
So that's kind of like the way money is. If you look after the money when it's young, literally it'll look after you when it's older. The problem
This
is
one of those pinchion things. Isn't it?
I'm trying to think of what's that word when you assign human attributes to an inanimate object. Anthropomorphize.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. One of those anthropomorphizing
another word of the week.
money.
no, but it is because
yeah.
it's like if you keep an eye on your money, it will.
Take care of the pennies, and they look after the pounds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it literally it's a cliche.
It's like and other dad sayings.
yeah, but it's a cliche, but it's 100% true. You know.
Well-
And I think that's where, the thing is, you go to school and you learn about so much crap. You learn about so much crap in school. And the reason ultimately, I believe you go to school for two reasons. One reason is to generally get an education. And the other reason is to prepare you to work in a factory. Yeah? Because when you think about
a bit harsh, but go on.
Well,
it's not harsh.
It's
like
preparing you to be a drone.
it's
Yes,
preparing
sure.
you to
I think
be
that's more
no,
accurate.
it's
to
preparing
say
you
this.
to be
Yeah,
a drone.
okay,
Well,
yeah.
I mean a factory.
No, I'm with you though. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
didn't,
yeah.
I get you. You're right.
Because when
Donald
you're
hates people who work in factories.
when you're 6, okay, when you're 6-year-old or 6 to 13, you're there and there's a teacher in the front and you have to do whatever the teacher says. Then it's like, yay, I've left school, I've gone out into the workforce. Now you have to sit in a place, look at your boss, and you have to do what the boss says. It's literally training. Okay. Now it's also education, and the education is very important.
Well, yeah, I was going to say we want to do another episode on education, and I definitely want to hear your theory on the alternative to that. But go on.
But what's really important to note is they never actually teach you, here's how to keep an eye on your money. You're never taught that I don't think Oisin is.
Because if you take too much care of your money, then you might not have to work anymore, and then where's the drone gone?
Well, I don't know what the logic is, but 100%, 100%, yeah, it's like nobody is taught that, and we should be as kids.
Yeah, they don't teach you about taxes. They don't teach you about.
Well, I mean, these days you could make the very valid argument, the education system, they don't teach you about AI, which definitely they should be right now. All that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
but the thing is, Fleming, AI has been around in the last, realistically, in popular vocabulary,
3 years.
3 years, whereas money's been around for 3,000 years. It's like, come on, schools, get it together.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so are we coming close to wrapping it up?
Yes,
I think we are right there.
Do you
Real
have any
quick,
last points?
I really want, because there's a story that's too funny, and I want to throw it out there about Bitcoin.
Okay.
Because
I'm sorry, I'm getting myself ready to
yeah,
laugh.
No, well, it's not that funny.
You've said it now.
I veered away earlier from the whole Bitcoin thing without going into this. I've kind of, alluded to there's no regulation, it's all really bad. But no, hang on, I'm going to find the names of the actual things rather than just trying to make it up. There is, as you know, because at one point I wanted to do a whole episode just about Bitcoin. And then the Bitcoin bubble burst and it was kind of like, that ship felt like it had kind of sailed, so we just didn't really do it. It sank, exactly. So we didn't really do it. But now it looks like Bitcoin is on the rise again, definitely. So it's becoming a bit more relevant again. But basically, in the before the bust days, there's a number of different kind of I guess I'm gonna say 3 layers of the failure of Bitcoin, right? The first one, there's a company called Terra. So this company created their own Bitcoin, and they called it a stable coin. Because the problem with Bitcoin, as I keep saying, is it's just literally made up. Literally someone just made up their own money and somehow convinced other people to believe in it. And Bitcoin has done it. Other cryptocurrencies, and I can't remember any big ones now, but have done it as well. Ethereum is a perfect example.
Sorry,
Yes.
it's taken us the whole length of this podcast for me to think of that.
They've done it as well. But there's thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies that just can't really convince anyone to buy into them, and there's some people doing speculation on them kind of thing, but not really taking off. But Terra decided to make a stable coin, and their plan was, hey, we will guarantee every coin, like we will create a kind of a pool, and all of the Terra coins that get minted and produced out of this, we will back it up with a real coin so if anything goes wrong, there's a real. It's like back when money, like the dollar, was on the gold standard. So there was in Fort Knox, there's enough gold to count for all these dollars. But then all they did was they created another cryptocurrency of their own, which they just made up themselves, and said, this cryptocurrency is so valuable that it counts as backing up this other cryptocurrency that we invented and are trying to convince people is valid. Which, on the face of it even, you can see the holes in that, right? Nope, don't worry, loads of people have believed it. See, the thing about crypto is, I don't know, nerds just show up in a t-shirt in this big auditorium where like all these business financial people are there, bamboozle them with bullshit about how techno, this is going to work. And somehow, and then of course they spend loads of money on marketing, advertising, get famous celebrities.
And if you can give it just a small enough spin that's a slightly different from the one before.
Enough techno babble that it just goes one step beyond full comprehension of people, boom, you'll do it. Anyway, obviously it went bust. And the whole reason being, they literally made up money of their own invention to back up the whole idea. So that was like an example of a crypto coin that failed There's millions of them. We've talked about the pump and dump scheme. We talked about all those. We've talked about the meme coins. Then so that's at the coin level. Now, if you go to the bank level, and remember that the whole benefit of crypto is there is no bank. There is no central place where everything is stored. But still, someone created a bank called Celsius Bank. So what they did is they just said, hey, we will be a crypto bank where you can store your crypto in our bank. We'll hold it for you and pay you interest of almost 20%. So naturally, people will put in a bit of money just to see how that works out. Hey presto, they take out that money and they have 20% interest, and they'll tell all their friends, and all their friends will start putting in money to get that same interest back. If this story is sounding familiar to you, you may have remembered when we were talking about the video game episode, someone did exactly this in that video game. I can't remember what it was, all the EVE Online. I mean, it's the stereotypical pyramid scheme.
It's a pyramid scheme.
Which is exactly what it was. And of course, that went bust. And of course, when the numbers started looking bad on the bank's books that they had to present to people, they just invented their own crypto coin, said it was a certain amount of value, put that in their bank. So, see, our bank is still valid, right? Because you can do that when you're making up stuff. You can just say anything and it's true.
It literally sounds like kids when they're playing and they're like, bang, I shot you. No, you couldn't. I was wearing a bulletproof vest. Yes, but I shot a bulletproof vest busting bullet.
Yes.
My bulletproof
shot
vest.
full metal jacket.
Except billions.
Yeah.
And this is what kills me. Grown-up people who are financial industry experts somehow buy into this bullshit. It amazes me that this gets so bamboozled.
Yeah.
But this is where things get, in my opinion anyway, I find this I get a kick out of this. This is funny. There is a guy called Sam Bankman-Fried. And he,
Is that a real name?
That's
It
his
is,
real-
yeah.
Yeah, that's his real name. He decided to create a
Total
kind of a...
nerd, by the way, if you looked him up.
Oh, yeah. But he looks ridiculous, but he's one of these people who tries hard to look ridiculous. Like, look at me wearing this big baggy T-shirt. My hair's all tousled because I don't care. But that's the look you're... Anyway, I'm going too far.
Yeah.
Basically, he was talking about... He wanted to create like a cryptocurrency exchange, kind of like the Wall Street for cryptocurrencies. And basically, he would... Oh, and I should say as well, this is the first time I've ever heard of effective altruism, right? This is a philosophy where, let's say, Barry, you're a really good guy and you're an altruist. You believe in giving to charity, so you get all of your wages and you give it to a charity because you're so good. Smarter move, take all your wages, don't give it to the charity. Put it in investments and make it earn loads of more money. And then when you've earned loads more money, give that loads more money to charity instead. See, charity actually got more money out of it. If you're smart and you want to do effective altruism, don't just give money, earn money, make money, and then give that, and there's more of it to give. So that was Sam Bankman-Fried's, one of his kind of shticks that he was doing that. But basically, he had this, stock exchange for crypto. So you could like buy and sell all different various crypto coins and all sorts of stuff. Now, he basically invented all this and was living in a condo in, I don't know, Florida or somewhere like that, or no, the Bahamas. And there was 9 of them in a penthouse all together. And they were all like the staff working together, living together, hanging out together, drinking together, living the good life. And his on-again, off-again girlfriend was there too. And he had another company, which was, I can't remember what it was. It was a kind of a investment fund company. So you would put money in and then they would invest it for you kind of thing. This investment fund company, he also owned it. But he couldn't own the two together, so he transferred it into his on-again, off-again girlfriend's name. And long and the short of it is, because of course, naturally, like all these stories, he invented his own cryptocurrency. Why not? So the investment company started hemorrhaging money. There was like 8 billion in debt. So what he did to help out help out herself, he started just taking money that people had given to him to his stock market kind of exchange to make money for them. He just took their money, gave it to his girlfriend. Here, that'll plug the hole in your business. His company was, I think in total, was worth 32 billion, and it went bankrupt in like 3 days or something. I mean, that's a massive... It's the biggest financial fraud, I think, maybe in history or in recent memory anyway. And, but the thing is, and I just heard so much about this whole story, like, he was put on house arrest and he had an ankle bracelet and he was not allowed to access to any technology, and then he was still posting on friggin' X and stuff, and it's like, come on. So they had to take that off him, and he was just, the whole story was crazy and dumb. And then, of course, it was just sad as well to hear, his ex obviously fell out, and then she was the one who was running the business that was going on the Swanee, and they all turned on each other and testified against each other. And long story short, he's in jail. And when that happened, and that happened a few years ago, that was the time when that happened. I was like, oh well, no point doing a cryptocurrency episode now, because in my mind, like, Bitcoin's gone, cryptocurrency's gone. This was like
There's a whole episode on that guy.
Yes, well, that's what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do it before this happened. It was but that was like the hammer of Thor busting the bubble of Bitcoin so hard, it's done for good. And by the way, the world we live in right now, Trump is like super pro cryptocurrency now, and he clearly doesn't know what it is. He even said it himself. I saw a reporter asking him about his own meme coin, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know anything about that. I just launched it." It's like, what? Is that your answer that you're officially giving to a coin that you are launching, and is your name on it? And anyway, but he's fired like the head of the financial regulation body. That was meant to be regulating all this kind of shenanigans and shady crap that's been going on. Now you're fired. Put in my Bitcoin guy, or my cryptocurrency guy.
Yeah,
so there's a crypto friendly, the same way he's putting everyone friendly to everything. So what I think might happen, and I'm not saying it is, but this could happen, if crypto becomes legitimized enough again. And I'm not saying crypto should be completely banned or blocked or anything. I actually think it's possibly not a bad thing. I'll tell you why in a second, and I know we're running out of time. But if crypto becomes legitimate enough that it gets kind of adopted into the stock market or Wall Street or the main banking system, and gets in any way integrated to that, and if another bubble burst happens, when it happens, only like you're saying, these poor people, they were caught in a pump and dump, and some mother invested 32,000 quid of her college fund. Yes, that's tragic, but also she was fooled and duped and frankly dumb to do that, right?
100%, yeah.
Sympathies as well, but now if crypto gets integrated into the mainstream financial industry and the financial sector, which could happen, then the next 2008 bust might be some crazy dumbasses who just made up money and made up numbers and invented it all, and then it all just went bust. Except, oh well, you can't afford your mortgage next year because loads of people lose their jobs and inflation goes through the roof. That could really happen. That's the thing that kills me. And I like the idea of crypto, because what I really don't like is everything's gone digital. And now, technically, the government, if things go a little bit sideways, can find out, oh, how many pints of milk did Martin buy last week? They know and have visibility of everything. Now, only because I use my Tesco card, which I don't have to use, but then you pay more because you're not using it. Everything is being monitored. Everything's going on the computer. Everything's on the system, and the government have control of everything and can snap their fingers and my money disappears.
Would you look at your man over here shopping in Tesco's?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but...
Notions.
Sure. But like I say, the idea of crypto is taking away government control of finances, which
they don't like.
Well, obviously, the weird thing is, I'm surprised that there's so little resistance to it, considering.
It's funny, yeah.
Because also, the whole big thing about, like, when Ireland joined the common currency, the big deal about that was every country likes to have control of their own currency. So it's like, oh, our local national economy is overheating, pull this lever and we'll print more money or print less money, or, you can control inflation that way. When you attach yourself to now this common currency across loads of countries, you're giving up power as a government, as a nation. So governments want to have that control. Crypto is taking that control entirely out of a government's hands. But right now, I definitely would be nervous about as I see it going, I guess. I don't know.
No, yeah, 100%.
I find it very interesting.
I agree
but
with you, yeah.
the whole crypto shenanigans was so unbelievably bad that I am shocked that it's bounced back so fast. Yeah. But anyway, here we are.
That's because certain people wanted it to bounce back, I guess.
Yep.
Anyway, that's money. There's a billion more things I could say, but I'm very conscious of we are out of time.
We've talked a long time. We have talked a long time.
It was a good show, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have anything interesting to add to that, do so in the comments if you can. If you're watching on YouTube or whatever, if you can comment. If you can't, just subscribe. Help us out. Thanks a million. And I think that's it, guys.
Yep.
Okay. Well, goodbye, everybody.
Right, and we'll see you on the next one.
Boom.